So we have a mini crew and a fabulous space in sort of a makeshift way only for me. The people behind the scenes are so used to this. They're so bored with my anxiety prior to going live. It was quite obvious on their face. But having been bar mitzvahed and being of that ilk, it's my job to be the nervous one. First of all, happy Gay Pride Day if you're here in New York. What an amazing celebration. Also, the fun I'm having working and living in New York is, I shared it a little bit when I was back in Los Angeles on a few previous shows, staying from the auspices of Hank Azaria in the loft that Apu built, and it's sick. And we're having such a great time. But the difference between staying in a hotel versus staying in this beautiful place while working has been an extraordinary personal and creative experience for me. So I'm awfully thrilled about that. The concern of doing this work in New York over the weekend and not being able to be in Santa Monica, California to do the show was that I'd have to be pressured into a different space and a different vibe. And I remember early on in the conversation, will I have a round table? Kevin, please, you're going to be in New York. Don't be a spaz. We have found the smallest round table. I don't know if you can see it. Is there enough light? Well, you see my hands rotating around it. But it's round, damn it, and it's wood, and I am happy. I tried to actually sneak into Charlie Rose's studio, since I ripped him off originally with my own design back in Los Angeles. But his security's surprisingly tight, you know? You'd think PBS, they'd be asleep at the wheel. Not the case. So we're here, and outside they're queer, and get used to it. The other thing I want to talk about is we, like I said, 13 weeks into this thing, and no publicist, no media guide, no really mothership to even report to, and no marketing department. And so the question was always, if the design is that we're viral, we're online, and let people discover us, how long will it take before the otherwise known as commercial media finds out about us if we don't go banging on their doors? Because the thought's always been, what do we need them for? Are you kidding? We have a real audience. We don't need to go banging on somebody's door. Hey, look at me. I'm on Intervision. Then, a couple days ago, before all the celebs started dying, we had ourselves a slow news day in Los Angeles, that being Wednesday, June 24th, as it says here on the front page of the Los Angeles Times. And of course, here in New York, they won't even use this to wipe the dog's ass. But column 1, crazy. It's TV with its girdle off. We made the front page above the fold, as it was explained to me from a writer knowing of television or newspaper writing information. Above the fold, page 1. So I can't imagine the other 8 column 1 stories that were ready to go that got shit canned in the editor's meeting right before this went to print. But there we are, the chat show in living color inside. Oh, it's beautiful. I first found about it online, and I'm looking online at it, and it's like the pictures are smaller, and you know, also I'm looking on my iPhone, so they're really small. But you don't see the President of the United States on one side, right? And then, so there we are kissing Barack. So yeah, I want to thank Mr. Sarno, the author of this craziness. All right, David. Am I saying his name right? Yeah. I want to make sure of that. For coming down to the studio and hanging during the Dana Carvey interview, and then we just kind of check in with him over the weeks. Hey, how's it going? Is that article actually going to come out? Because we think it's pretty great that you wanted to write about it. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just taking some time. And thank God he waited to the exact moment we could sneak our ass onto the front page. So I can't thank you enough for that. And there is some sort of basket of some fabulous crap coming your way, mister. If I had a publicist, you would have already got it. So the question was, when you're in New York, you're going to do live shows, who are you going to get? Because there's no talent here.
Still isn't.
Yeah. And it turns out I didn't have to look too much further than my own front yard working on the movie, because the director of the damn thing is, he's ended up being a fan of the show after he watched, and has been wired into the interwebs his own damn self with what he likes to call the Smodcast for quite a long time, which we'll find more about in moments. And yeah, I decided, I'll just get the director of the film. That shouldn't be an imposing thing. Kev, I know you're working around the clock, but can I swipe you out of editing? And his response, as I recall, and I believe I'm allowed to quote, well, I do enjoy talking. So here he is today. Please welcome my first New York guest, Mr. Kevin Smith. Thank you, pal.
Thank you, sir.
Well, please.
That was a hell of a talk up.
Right?
Yeah, it's cool to be here, but it's a little intimidating to be first New York guest.
I know.
A lot of talented people that you could have gotten. Way more interesting people.
Well, we'll see about that.
Bruce said no. I take it. Is that it? Is that why I'm here?
Wrong!
I tried to get him to go to Carnegie Hall as well, and he said no, so I know how it is. You're like,
Did not ask him.
Didn't ask him?
Did not ask him.
When you wait and ask him.
Did not invite him.
You're like, well, Kevin did it. You need me as the fucking, yeah, so I get it, man. You're like, Kevin did it, and what am I going to say? It sucked, Bruce, don't do it. I'm going to be like, do it, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, right.
That's how we are, political in this business. How are you?
I'm extremely excited.
That LA Times piece, for a lot of people don't understand, that's huge. That's a big deal, be on the front page of the LA Times.
I didn't have to kill anybody.
Yeah, you didn't have to do anything bad.
Yeah.
Depending on who's watching the show. Some
Right.
people might be like, I don't know, fuck that show. I like the show.
Well, thank you, sir.
It was nice. Kevin had talked about it at one point, and he said he interviewed Dana Carvey. And I was just like, I would not say I'm the world's biggest Dana Carvey fan, but
Right.
I grew up in an era when, Wayne's World was fairly prominent, and he was always one of, if not, probably the top five most
Yeah.
talented people ever on that show.
Yeah.
One of those people that never should have left.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? And not because they're like, you're not good enough to be in movies, but it's just like, clearly, this is your calling. You need
Right.
to be here and just going out there, coming up with new characters and shit. And every once in a while, I get people that stay a while, like Phil Hartman.
Right.
And what's his name? Darren. What's that dude's name?
Daryl Hammond.
Daryl Hammond, who
Yeah.
just left this year finally.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, that's what Tracy was telling me. So I forget what I was talking about.
You were talking about watching the first chat show.
I was watching. Like I said, I don't consider myself like a hardcore like die for Dana, but like I was kind of like I would watch that interview,
Right.
like because I don't know that much about him other than what and I'd heard the heart thing, so I was like, ooh, maybe it'd be like one of those creepy like I'm dying type interviews and shit. Like that would be a fascinating one. And I just kept back and watched it. It was so delightful to see him be so like. What do you, I can keep talking? Like,
Right.
He kept expecting to get cut off because I guess in his world, he's used to like, get up, do your bits, and get off. So it might have been the first true interview that dude's ever had where somebody was asking him about shit that wasn't like, what's it like to be friends with Mike Myers, like back in the day and shit.
Yeah.
So I liked it based on that. So I said I would come on. And then I found out I was going to be on. It was Twittered to me. Somebody was like, you're going to be on Kevin's show on Sunday. And I was like, I am. Okay, I am. Yes, of course I am. I remember speaking about it at one point. So here we are.
That's an interesting way to find out.
It was.
Yeah.
I was like, wish you would have told me at Carnegie Hall. Oh, he didn't go to Carnegie Hall.
Right.
Too.
I had to wing away from
Where were
Gotham.
you? Where'd you go?
I'm doing this other terrible movie in Los Angeles.
Are you shooting two movies simultaneously?
I wrote this thing with George Gallo on the plane ride back from Cannes. It's pretty ridiculous.
And George Gallo's got it at 29th Street?
Yeah, and Midnight Run,
Midnight
of course,
Run,
is
of
the
course.
giant. But Bad Boys and other.
As an actor, yeah, he was the dude in Beverly Hills Cop, right? In the beginning, who's selling cigarettes to Eddie Murphy. Do I know more about George Gallo than you?
Is that possible?
Should I be running the Kevin Smith chat show? Yeah, I think so. I was always kind of interested by that guy because that movie, I think it's called 29th Street, is played by what's his name?
Anthony LaPaglia.
Anthony Pollak. It tells George's life story,
Right.
correct? And it's like, the dude got stabbed, and thank God because they found out he had a tumor, shit like that. Like he's always lucking out and whatnot. It was pretty good, pretty interesting story. And then when I was a kid, went to like one of those movie, like you watch movies and we'll bring people in and you can ask them questions, like pre-screening kind of things.
Yes.
They started doing that up in Edison, New Jersey, and so me and a friend joined that class, and they brought that flick. And I don't think George didn't come to speak, but somebody who worked on it did. I think the producer or something. So I've always been kind of low key tied. There are certain things when before you entered your job,
Yes,
that always are crystal clear, where you're like, I shouldn't remember that. Not like it's beneath me, but that just happened so long ago. But it's such a formative kind of thing. Like I remember attending that class and being like, this is the cheapest form of film school there could be. And really, it was just sitting there watching a movie and talking to somebody who was involved with it afterwards. Or not even talking, you're listening to them talk, and then I get asked inane questions and shit. But that was enough. Like back in the day, you just wanted to see somebody.
Yeah.
Somebody who did it. You're like, you're in movies?
Right.
How do you do it? And they still do it to this day. People ask me that question. How do you do it? I'm like, make Clerks. Totally works.
Yeah.
They don't like that answer, though.
No, they don't.
They want you to be like, here's how you do it. Here's a check for $40 billion.
Right.
Go off and make your dreams come true.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
And they'll enjoy their ride home on the turnip truck. Let me ask you this.
You're a cruel man to your lessers, aren't you, Pollak?
No. I love me, the lessers, because I is one.
That's right. You and I thought about when I was just like driving up here. And I was literally, this is how old school this was.
Uh-huh.
My mother and brother came in town for brunch, and so my brother's, I was
Wow.
like, I could blow off, go to this. I had to blow off my mother. It's probably not going to live long to be on Kevin Pollak's chat show. So I said, I'll take a cab. My brother's like, no, drive up with us. So my mother literally dropped me off for the interview. There was something kind of sweet about it. Like, she gave me a kiss. Yeah, nobody ever drops me off for interviews anymore. Usually I drive myself and shit. But my mom was such a positive force. She was like, you go be funny. That's what you do.
Aww.
And I was like, thanks, Mom.
That's
That was kind of cool.
Now, but I did.
She didn't want to come in, though. She's like, I hear it's not on television? Fuck it. She's like, internet, new media. That bubble burst, Kevin. I was like, all right.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's not true. She doesn't know what she's talking about. I tried to tell her about the front page of the LA Times. She didn't understand how important that was. That's a big piece. And you know why? You were all fucking like, how does it happen? Of course it happens. Los Angeles, Hollywood, the seat of conventional programming, if it works, if what you're doing works, then they want to pay attention. That is a page one story to me.
Yes. Well, that made sense for it to be in the entertainment section when the guy first showed up.
Slow news day, though.
Or even business. But come on, if you're the editor and you're in that room making those decisions about column one.
Yeah, they're like, I've got a photo of a child that was beheaded in Iraq on the Kevin Pollak chat show.
Yeah. Let me see.
It depends. Maybe it was the balance. What else was happening on the front page that day?
Clearly nothing.
Mm.
Yeah. Now,
aren't you glad Michael Jackson died like 2 days later?
Well, that
was it 1 day later?
It was 2 days. But how? It's
because nobody would have been talking about the Kevin Pollak chat show.
Nobody's talking about the poor Farrah Fawcett. That's the other thing, that story. But yes, as a performer, and that of course means there's also this ridiculous ego that gets dragged around with me.
Do you still have one? Do you have an ego?
I do. They beat it down. Anymore.
Yeah, they beat it out. That's what people don't quite get. They're always I've read something online, some Twitter. I love Twitter because it's so positive. I've been doing online shit for like 15 years now.
Right.
But generally, the haters can always find you. For some reason, they just don't invade Twitter. Now that I say it, I'm sure I'll get a bunch of, fuck you, burn in hell, you fat fuck. But generally, everyone on Twitter is very nice. Every once in a while, somebody's negative. Right. And the negative ones now are so few and far between that I actually can kind of like appreciate them for what they are. Somebody wrote, I put up something about a couple of dicks, and it was all like, can't wait, that looks awesome. But one dude was like, I hope this movie fails. And I was just like, wow. What a truth bomb that was. But generally, people are very, very, very positive, I find, on that Twitter. That's why I dig it so much. It really is. I don't know why I got married or have a child. I could just go to Twitter, feel good about myself. Anytime I'm feeling low, I'm just like, I read 10 and I'm like, all right, I'm doing good in life. And my kid's like, "You want to go out and play?" I'm like, "Fuck you, I'm busy." Oh, somebody named Nancy likes me or something like that.
Right. Yeah. How did you find Twitter?
I don't know. I
been
think
on a
because
while.
I was Facebook and MySpace, a lot of cats were like, "Have you tried Twitter? It sounded cute." And I joined and I didn't do anything. Like I put up one post. I was like, "This makes no sense. Like 140 characters. Fuck this noise." Because I was used to writing blogs and I've had the message board for a while.
Right.
So at first I didn't really embrace it, and then I kind of got into it just by virtue of the fact, like, it's training. It kind of forces you to be creative in a different way, creative with less. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't just sit there and verbal diarrhea. You have to be so choosy, not just with your words, but with every letter at that point. So I
but
like
as
that.
writers, we're constantly editing ourselves anyway.
But not me. I just put it all out there in first draft and rest on my laurels and shit. I'm not a worker, dude. I'm so not a worker. I'm a real fucking... I'm like, I did it once, and then we have to do it again? What the fuck would I do it again for? Nobody else. It's very rarely do you find another line of work where people have to do their job more than once.
Yeah. Wow.
Like where somebody goes, "Hey, do it again. It wasn't good enough."
Right.
Or make it better this time. They don't say it wasn't good enough because nobody wants to hurt your feelings in this business until they want you out.
Yeah.
But they'll tell you like, "Oh, it could be better. I think there's gold in there," shit like that.
Or try it again. Just try it again.
Yeah. Just take this shot, man. And if it doesn't work, don't have to include it. All that shit.
Yeah.
The moment you write it, it's in the movie, unfortunately.
But they do spend a lot of their time trying to remove your ego by rejection. I mean,
I don't have it anymore. I just don't have it. And that's what I was bringing up about the Twitter thing. Some cat, because, I put up some the stuff about Carnegie. I was trying to sell the fucking event. So, of course, I was putting it up there every day, turned it into a game, showing how ticket count was going down and shit and blah, blah, blah. And some cat was just like, "This dude's all fucking in love with himself." And I was like, "Oh, buddy, come weep with me and see how not in love with myself I am. Come hang out with me in the dark hours, dude, where I'm just like looking at like a fucking joint and a gun going, which one? That never happened." But you want to say it to him so he feels bad so he doesn't say shit like that.
Yeah.
I find lying is best.
Yeah, well, of course. Lying is always best.
Just tell people, like, "My mom's dying." They're like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
I thought,
Bruce got a little lippy with me one day on the set, and I was like, "My grandmother just died," and he was like, "All right, my bad. She didn't."
And then do you feel like you should call her to see how she's doing?
She died many years ago. Technically, it wasn't a lie. I just didn't tell him the timing of it.
I like the cut of your jib.
Sometimes, anything it takes, dude, get the movie done. Are you having a good time in the movie?
Hey, easy with the questions.
Well, somebody's got to get a fucking chat show going here, motherfucker. I mean, good God.
Listen, no.
Are you having a good time in the movie?
I'm having.
You seem to be.
Yeah. I don't know how.
I don't even need you. I'll do the interview for you.
I don't know how else to do it. To be honest with you, I learned pretty early on that if you're not having fun, there's no point.
I agree.
Yeah,
but not everyone shares that.
No, they don't.
Not on this movie, just in general. In this business, not everyone shares that sentiment.
Right.
Some people need it to be work.
Right.
I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't either. That process.
I don't work well with
I have to be
those
in
people.
pain in order to create. No, you don't, you idiot.
Totally. It's just like, hey, man, especially like, look, if we were making something on this time around, if we were making Schindler's List, fine. But movie's called A Couple of Dicks. Lighten up, everybody. Mercifully, it's like that. Mercifully, we have a pretty good time making it. I mean, it's fraught with peril in as much as we're shooting in the outer boroughs and shooting in Manhattan. We're just in New York in general. It can be complicated and getting around and shit. Now we're adding into it. We're shooting in the summer.
Let's not forget that.
And all I ever do is wear a long coat, so I'm going to fucking die. Now, except now I'm wearing this. Now I had to wean myself into track jackets and shit. It's always funny. Fat dudes always wear athletic clothing. It's so strange. Just because they stretch, that's it.
Yeah.
Not because I'm like, I'm going to leave here, Kev, and go shoot some hoops.
Nope.
I'm going to leave here to shoot some fucking loads in the bathroom, jerking off, looking at porn, struggle to stumble out, talk to my wife, eat, go to sleep. That's what I'm going to do.
I found all this on page 7, by the way, of my research.
You are having a good time. You seem it. Can I talk about you for a while?
Please.
It is an absolute pleasure. I said it yesterday. I was saying it a lot. Friday, rather, not Saturday. Such a pleasure to go. That's okay. You keep talking.
No. The camera's on you. You're good. Let's go to Kevin's camera while I go into
isolate me
mode.
while he works on the show.
Yeah.
This dude, I swear to God, it is so fun to go to work. I'm not just saying it because I'm here on the show. Because watch, I will insult him.
Yeah.
Stop with the fucking hats.
Exactly.
Anyway, back to work. This dude and Adam Brody, man, play two other detectives in the movie, and
two other dicks.
And my God, it's just. When it works, and it's such a thing of joy to watch because movies are not. It's not like laying brick or curing cancer. It's not like working at Burger King.
No.
But like anything, it's all relative, and it has its own kind of like, oh, this sucks. This part of the job sucks.
Yeah.
You always have to catch yourself.
Yeah.
Because you never want to be the guy that's just like, oh, I can't believe I was waiting for pizza for 5 minutes. I need it, obviously, to create. You never want to be that person, but you get spoiled in that world where you're used to just like, and I find I not take it out, but I use my kid in the same way I use people on a movie set where I'll be sitting somewhere and I'm like, Carly, can you go get me that remote that's like right over there? And the kid used to do it, and now the kid just turned 10, and she's starting to be like, why can't you get it? And I'm like, oh shit, they know. The uprising will begin soon.
Yeah.
But you get spoiled in this business. Some people get jaded and get shitty in this business and whatnot.
Yeah.
Some people, as we mentioned before, and again, this isn't like a blind, like some people, aka Bruce Willis, Tracy Morgan, nobody on this show. But some people, you meet cats who are just
so unhappy.
So fucking unhappy, dude. Yeah. Where you just want to be like, come on, man, every day in this business rocks. Yeah. Every day in this business rocks. But never mind that. You just meet people who like make a meal of it when they don't have to. Right. Like make the right meal of it. Don't like, some people's process is to create a lot of drama, then go act. And it's just like, it should be the reverse. It's like, let's chill out, make jokes right until it's about to roll, and then sit back and watch two craftsmen come to life. My wife and I, I see it all day long, so I'm spoiled by the performances. And I showed my wife the footage last week. I was just showing her random stuff, cut stuff, and just raw footage. And I was like, this is the stuff with Adam and Kevin. And she paid the highest comment. I told you and I told him the other day. She was just like, how many movies they've been in together? And I'm like, these motherfuckers just met. And it's just, the blend is so well, and it's so nice to go to work and watch people who are really good at their jobs. Because when you do that, it's never work. I mean, it never feels like work anyway, right? But generally, when you go and you can just watch the monitor as a moviegoer, like literally that day, it was the last shot on Friday, was basically all their work.
Right.
The back half of the day. I was literally able to just kind of, normally I sit in front of the monitor with an editor hat on going like, got it, need it, that sucked, I got to get that again, blah, blah, blah. Moments like that, dude, I kick back, I literally just eat and watch like I'm at the movies. Like I just kick back, watch the monitor, and be like, these motherfuckers will not blow it. Yeah. They can't blow it. And even the takes that you blow, gold. Yeah. It's just a real warm, easy ebb and flow to it. And I even said it yesterday, like there are times where you're working with supporting cast that you fall more in love with the supporting cast. Like I said to Rob Cullen, one of the writers, on Friday, I was like, let's fucking make that movie. Because what an easy job it would be to just show up, give you guys an outline of what should happen, and then go play. And every once in a while I'll be like, try this, say this. Because that's what my job is. With very talented people, my job is nothing more than traffic cop. It's just to get there and be like, hold on, let him say something funny. Okay, now you go. Oh, now you said that funny thing. So with guys like you, it's fucking wonderful. Tracy as well, Sean William Scott and Bruce. It's just, it's weird being, like, I'm used to dealing with the same people I've always worked with and whatnot. And some of them were rank amateurs, as I was when I started. And even now, 15 years in, it's always amazing when you like work with somebody and you're like, I can't believe like somebody this talented is working. Why would they work with me? Don't they know I've never made a movie made more than $30 million? Shit like that.
Clearly, a lot of them don't.
They don't. Yeah. They're not aware. Thank God they don't do their homework.
Yeah. No. Well, now let me ask you a couple things.
Yeah. Well, that's your job.
Yeah. Well, if I may, do my job. The good news is the show has this archive life, and from your Smodcast on iTunes, we like to do the live part of it to include an audience, not just to create a ticking clock for my guests, so there's a sense of it being live, but also to make it invite the community in.
Also, it takes away like you getting a call a day later going, hey man, can you take that part out where I said that thing?
Yes. And
like, it's no now editing. Everyone's responsible for
There's no editing.
Exactly.
Which is why this next moment should be kind of awkward in the iTunes version. Okay. Which is, are we still fucking live right now? I have no internet on my computer. Do you? You do? I'm getting thumbs up from everyone. So I'm the big shithead over here. It's interesting that the host wouldn't have the actual feed.
Old
right.
Pollak's having a meltdown right here on the Kevin Pollak chat show, ladies and gentlemen. It's cool. I'll take over until Kevin's ready.
No,
to
I
go
wanted that to be
Dude,
live.
why are you watching the show? You're on the show.
Because I have to.
You love yourself that much, you're like, I gotta watch it while it's happening. You're like
don't-
Larry Sanders
I
come to
don't
life. Dude.
exactly. Are you mad? Of course. I have so little interest in everything.
Apparently in the guest.
Right.
You're sitting there watching the show going,
No,
fuck.
I'm making sure
That it's happening?
Yeah.
You know what? If it doesn't happen, who gives a shit? We're
Well-
having a conversation.
Well, that's what I was thinking about the recorded part.
This is nice because we don't normally get to do this all day long because it's, you know,
It's all work and.
I mean, it's all work, but you get time for like 10-minute conversations on a
Yes.
set.
Well, also, I wanted to really touch on this, which is, it's never my first instinct to pass along credit to anyone else other than myself. So when you're paying me all these compliments, I have to suggest,
Yes.
at very least,
Yes.
because I've worked on so many sets,
Yeah.
with so many different directors and so many different styles.
You've been around.
Well, good and bad. And it, as you obviously know, it's all the pace, the energy, it's always set by the director, no
Yeah.
matter how big the star is.
Yeah.
At some point, it is a director's medium. And
Don't say that too loudly.
Why
Because
not?
we do have a bigger star than on this movie. He might be like, I heard that on the show.
What do you-
Kevin's in charge? Bullshit.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Bruce's world, we live in it. Let's
Yeah.
be honest.
well,
For
but
the next 28 days.
but the nice thing is, though, that energy
Mm-hmm.
that is going on when I showed up to work on a couple of dicks, it was apparent to me right away, even before you said, Kevin, just play. Just come to play. Whatever you want to bring, I want to hear it. It was obvious just watching that that's what was going on. You know, the crew is,
appreciate
everyone's
that.
doing their job. Everyone's got, you know, that worker bee thing where they're not going to let a moment stop before they get to their next task
Right.
and accomplish it. But then there's the creative types who don't have that busy stuff on a regular basis, on an ongoing basis rather, and they're sitting by the monitor or they're out there and doing this and that. And that's where that vibe comes into reality for me as to what is the pace here. Is it a happy set? Is it an intense set, which is fine at times? And so take that much credit for the fact that everyone in the sandbox is playing so well.
I do. I mean, that's
Yeah.
one of the things I'm proud of because I can't really be like, I'm proud of my skills as a visual filmmaker, so I got to look for pride in other places and shit. It's like, and when you grow up fat, you're used to that kind of thing. You have to, you know, be like, well, all right, I look like this, but I can eat pussy real well, that kind of thing. So,
Let me just write that down.
jot it down.
Eat
You know
pussy
what I'm talking
really
about. You
well.
didn't grow up fat, but you know,
Yeah.
the hats must have cut down on a lot of your action.
Yeah.
I forget where I was going. Anyway, I'm used to. It's tough. Thank you for the compliment, but
Sure.
I'm just used to. You just want to make everyone feel at home. You know, you want to host a movie as well as make a movie.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah,
And
because you want people to come back. Like, I mean, look, I know the movie will be like. Here's the thing: I don't know the movie will be great. I know I'll like the movie,
Yeah.
and that's all I could ever do is make a movie that I like, and then hopefully other people follow. Since taste is subjective, I know I can't promise everyone involved that it will be the most successful movie they've ever worked on. But what I can promise them is in production,
yes.
they'll have one of the most laid back, easiest shoots they've ever had.
That's all we can do,
What I go, totally. You
Yeah.
just want to give everyone a really comfortable work environment. And it sounds like, you know, for people who don't work in the business, like, oh yeah, fucking make it comfy for people who make millions of dollars. But it's a trade-off, man. It's like we sit here and put down the job a lot and dismiss it as like it's because it's easy and it's making pretend for a living.
Right.
But you do have this bizarre fucking added pressure of millions of dollars hanging over your head, and you get one shot to do it right.
Right.
And which isn't even true because you can go back if you fuck up.
In
If they
editing.
like you enough, and reshoot it sometimes.
Ah, yes.
I don't like doing that. I feel it's kind of like if you didn't get it right the first time, I feel like a failure doing it. I mean,
Right.
some people are into it, but I'm just like, fuck, man. If I was smart enough, we wouldn't have needed to reshoot.
Right.
So I hate the reshoot process. But there's, you want to make it a comfortable environment. So like you step onto the set, and this is it. We're only doing the Hunsaker Mangold office scene presumably once. That's the aim.
Right.
And you guys, when you watch it, will watch it forever and ever, and it'll always play the same. You'll be like, wow, those dudes are really good, and like, blah, blah, blah. But there's a lot of pressure on that moment that's kind of unquantifiable, except to say that, like, you want to make it as comfortable for everybody as possible so that that moment it's like going into the birthing process. You don't want to give birth, in the middle of fucking Calcutta in a traffic accident. You want to be in a hospital, the nurse there and a doctor and it's quiet.
So you don't.
There's notes, dude. Take some damn notes. Learn a thing or two. So I like to do that. I like to make it real comfy for people. And also, I just grew up Catholic. My parents were really nice and shit. They raised really like civil kids. My thing is rudeness. I can't stand rudeness, which is weird because I stand on stage and say crude things. But there's a huge difference between being crude and being rude. And I'm very proud of my crudity. I wear it like a badge of honor. It's just who I am. And it reminds me of my friends. It reminds me of the world I came from, which isn't the streets. I came from the fucking suburbs. But I don't know. It ties me. It's just who I am at this point. Rudeness, though, I can't. And this business is fucking thick with it. Oh, it's sickeningly thick with it. That's why I don't go out. People are like, you party and shit? I'm like, most people in this business, I don't want to fucking see, man, because they're fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
And not just in it's how they acquit themselves with others. It's not like, what they do. I don't give a shit somebody parties, goes clubs, but how they acquit themselves with their peers. More so with people who aren't their peers. You know, you can always judge a person's character by how they treat the person below them.
Right.
So in the movie world, it's very disappointing. Oftentimes you find out people are shitheels, utter shitheels.
Yes.
So, and that's tough for me. That's a real kryptonite kind of moment for me because I'll take a lot of shit, man. But incivility and rudeness is just something that
it doesn't work.
Oh, I'm in the wrong business for that kind of thing. They took me to eat here in town. There's a steakhouse called Peter Luger's. It's supposed to be the best steakhouse in New York. But the gimmick is that they're all rude there.
Yes.
The waiters are just I asked for a Coke, and the guy's like, and I was like, fuck this place. I don't care how good the fucking burger is, man.
Right.
Motherfuck anybody give me a face when I ask for a Coke. I tip 50%. You all right? Good Lord, she's about to trip over that ladder and shit.
No, she's trying to
I'm
save
all for the no frills set, but
she's
dude,
trying to
OSHA should come in and make sure that you're not tripping people.
We need somebody from the crew maybe to help a little bit because I've got no internet, which means I can't get any questions from the chat jockey.
You don't need them, dude. We'll create our own questions.
But no, we're fine. But I want to involve the audience.
Okay.
This angle? Yeah. What can we do to help this out a little bit? Why don't you talk to them? Talk to them a little bit. Be honest with them because I want the best shot possible, obviously. So whatever we can do there.
It's just like the newspaper said, dude. It's television with its girdle off.
That's right. And the girdle's coming off at the seams.
But right now, not only is the girdle come off, but the gut has flopped over the pussy.
Yeah.
Or the dick in my case. The gut has flopped over the cock. You can't see it all. And you're on camera, so you're going to have to lift it to see it. Everybody knows the girdle is broken.
Right.
Everybody knows this experiment has failed, Pollak.
Let me ask you, I sense that you always sort of had the same demeanor, but when you're raising those initial funds to make Clerks,
yes.
You've told the story over and over again about various aspects of it, but I'm curious about that nervous kid. Was there a nervous kid in terms of making that first one? Even on the first one, were you thinking, well, if I screw this one up, I'll try to do better on the next one? Or did you ever have the moment of, I've got one shot at this Clerks thing. This is potentially my ticket. So everything's riding on this.
Yeah, that was pretty much it the whole time. And not by virtue of the fact that I'm like, one day I'm going to get, this is the movie that's going to put me on the map. But it was just like, look, I'm only going to do this once.
Right.
And I put most of it, on credit cards.
Right.
Because we didn't come from money at all. So I was just like, if this doesn't pan out, I'm going to spend the next 5-10 years paying this off.
Right.
And it would have been a lifetime. And then maybe I'll try it again in the future. But I remember watching it for the first time. While we were making the flick, I was never scared. I was just like, let's go. You got the Little Rascals, we're putting on a show kind of thing. So you just kind of race forward and you're cruising on the volition of passion and you've never done it before. And you're like, he's amazing. And people are going, it looks like a movie. And it's not until post that you're just like, what are we supposed to do with this? And we were working toward this screening at the IFFM, the Independent Feature Film Market, in '93, because I'd read an article that Richard Linklater took his film there the year before, Slacker, 2 years before, a year before. And, he was there the year prior as a work in progress, and he came back as like a panel, for the film that got picked up by Orion Classics, like a success story panel and shit. So I was like, we got to do this. We got to go to this IFFM, which they hold at the Angelica Film Center, down in Houston.
Yeah.
And we went, and there was like, it's basically you pay at that point $400, $500 to get a slot to screen your movie. And you try to pack it with as many potential distributors or audience or anybody as you can. And all week long we went to screenings, and every screening was fucking packed. And there was stuff like Lodge Kerrigan was the big favorite. He made this movie called Clean Shaven, and he was like I think he was a SUNY Purchase kid. He was one of the kids that came out of film school out here and stuff. What else was there? There's a movie called The Making of And God Spoke, which was a mockumentary about the making of a film. And that theater was packed, and I was like, man, I can't wait till we show. Right. Our movie's playing on Sunday at 11 a.m. Like, they saved us till the last day because they know our film was quality.
Wow.
And nobody showed up. Sunday is the dead day at the IFM. So nobody was there, man, except for basically our crew and one guy, a dude named Bob Hawk. And he was the guy that started telling people about it. So that day at the screening, about 5 minutes in, like, it was death. An empty theater with just people who were in the movie and worked on the movie.
Holy shit.
One stranger sitting up front. And, now, it's a figure that, like, wouldn't break me, but fucking $27,000 in 1993 when I was still living with my parents, like, that
represents the next 10 years of your life.
Absolutely. It would have taken a long, long time. And that was the first moment that I became aware of the movie as something, as a concrete. It had always been theoretical. It had always been a concept. Yes. And suddenly, sitting in that movie theater, I became aware of the fact that I had made this, like, utterly horrible-looking $28,000 movie where all people do is curse and talk about cock and pussy, and this dude's dead, and he's still getting laid. This motherfucker sucked his own dick, and I'm just like, who am I?
Why did I?
I had that moment like fucking Charlie Sheen in Wall Street, man, when I'm standing on the balcony. I'm like, who am I? I literally had to say it out loud because I'm like, I don't recognize this at all. This is not me. This can't be me. But it was me. You know, it's like, that's like seeing him in the mirror, truly in the mirror for the first time, where you're just like, holy shit, this is my life. This is what I am all about.
Yeah. Write what you know.
Terrifying. Write what you know. But it was terrifying. Nobody was there. And I was like, I'm dead in the water. And about 10 minutes after that initial reaction, I was like, you know what? I started just cognitively reframing it and going, you spent like what you'd spent if you did a year or two of film school. So, just pay it off and don't ever fucking do this again.
Right.
And that was that. And then it wasn't until the next day that we started getting phone calls and shit. That 18-hour period was pretty bad. But listen, what a fucking easy ride that is. Like, that's my,
18 hours?
Some people are like, man, I hit rock bottom. When I found myself with a cock in my mouth, I realized I had to get up and turn it over to Jesus. I literally had 18 hours where I was like, I wonder what's going to happen to our movie. And then somebody was just like, welcome to paradise. Yeah.
So the one person who would, you have another water down there. So
I'm a good friend.
Okay, so the one person who found you.
This dude named Robert Hawk. I could Bob, but his name is Robert Hawk. Yeah.
So he started telling people, and within those 18 hours.
He did. He spoke to this dude named Larry Kardish, who heads up New Directors for New Films, which is the New York Times sister festival, New York Film Festival sister festival.
Right.
And it's for emerging work. You only get to do it once with just, first time film, like New Directors, New Films.
Yeah.
He called and he was like, I'd like to look at it for possible inclusion. That blew my mind. So how the fuck did you hear about the movie?
Right.
But the first person who had called was Amy Taubin, who wrote for The Village Voice at that point. And she was trying to secure a copy to watch. And I knew Amy Taubin because I read The Voice religiously at that point. And I'd had an article, the article she'd written about Richard Linklater, framed, hanging over my big typewriter and shit. So when she called, I assumed it was my friends fucking around with me.
Oh, nice.
Because I'm like, who did I? It was so obscure it could have gone either way, where it's just like,
right.
I might believe Amy Taubin called, or I went the other way, where I'm like, this has got to be fucking Brian Johnson fucking around with me because he knows that I would be like, Amy Taubin, and then they'll be like, fuck you, asshole. Yeah. And I'm like, fuck you. But it was really her. And she has to see a copy of it. And then when she wrote about the IFFM next week in The Voice, that was it was the way into the piece. She used it as a framing device. And it was kind of like, it's cool, man. It was validation in a big bad way. I read The Village Voice. You know what I'm saying? The Village Voice was a paper that came into every convenience store I ever worked at,
absolutely,
including Quick Stop. So in Quick Stop, I read it from cover to cover. So to have our film not just referenced in it, but like in that article was, that was it. There are moments like that. I'm sure you have them too, where, you remember, like you probably remember the first Tonight Show you did.
Absolutely.
Like every fucking detail about it, from the moment who told you to park, to the nice guy that was like over here to your dressing room, because he was your fucking anchor in that moment, because it's an unearthly moment, something you've pursued your whole life or dream about. You're going to be there. Yeah. So life comes down to those days and those moments where you remember them very specifically. I remember that whole day after we showed the movie, after Clerks debuted at the IFFM, and the phone calls that led to the life I lead now. It was like 3 fucking phone calls, and then suddenly I was in a different world. Not to be confused with like when the film got bought, which was a completely different world. And you know, it's just like there are moments where I've been so sickly blessed that I keep waiting for Robert De Niro to show up with the egg and the long fingernails like an angel heart, you know, and being like, "Don't you remember you sold your soul for this? Now we're going to hell." I'm like, "Fuck." Yeah. Part of the deal was I didn't want to remember. Yeah. I was always terrified of that angel heart. The part of the deal is like, I don't want to remember until you show up, because then you can't repent. Yes. Yes. In my religion, repent, big thing. Big thing. What's going on? You guys got cameras or no? Are we just talking to each other? No. Are we even on the internet anymore?
No, we are. You lost your internet. I can't figure it out. These are all the questions I have.
Yeah, I wanted to involve the
crew, the people out there in the world
on Twitter. Yeah, it's a big thing for me.
Do you still get? Let me ask you. Do you still get moments?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Honey. That's at Jamie_Fox. Everybody.
Do you still get moments? Well, obviously you must get moments like that.
Moments of
like, wow, fucking, I made it. This is awesome. Life is great. Like,
how does she represent that?
Come on, dude. Come on. She not only is she pretty, she wears a dress.
Yes.
She came over, fixed your shit, and rubbed your neck and walked away. Like, why are you still here? Like, if I was you, I'd be like, I love you so much. Let's go into a room by ourselves for 10 years like Larry Flint. But that was affectionate strangle. Yeah. I saw it was one of these with the fingers just like
right.
He got a little hard after that. It wasn't a hard strangle. It was an affectionate one.
Now,
do you get moments like that though? Still to this day? How many? You've been doing it 30 years, right?
Constantly.
Do you really?
You can't take any of it for granted.
I get one a year generally, or a handful a year. It doesn't happen so much because, and now I'm not bitching, but it's just once you've. How many times did you do the Tonight Show?
With Johnny, almost 2 dozen.
Okay, so but nothing will compare to that first call where you're like, "You're on, kid."
No. The very first time, it's something you kind of wait your whole life. And in my case, I sort of orchestrated it differently. I started studying stand-ups on television when I was about 10. I started doing stand-up for my schoolmates and whatnot at various assemblies all through junior high and high school. So many years had gone by where I was collecting these thoughts and these images of what it was going to be like when I could stand on that little star and do my 6 minutes and get that from Johnny. And then I finally got to L.A., and there was a guy, Jim McCauley, whose job it was to find comedians to be on The Tonight Show. He was a segment producer, but he was the gatekeeper. And he would circle you and circle you and circle you as a stand-up act because you had to have 2 shots ready. Right. Because he knew if you killed on that first shot, Johnny might say, "I want that kid back next week." Right. So you better have 2 shots. And to have 2...
And that, when you say shots, you mean you got to have 6 minutes.
Killer 6 minutes, like from beginning to end, destructo. Right? So, and this guy, Jim McCauley, lived in fear of Carson because if he booked the wrong comic, Johnny would literally rip off his head and shit down his neck. Really? Like that. Yeah. It was not pretty. So, when the guy tapped you, this is what we all waited for. Right, so I started seeing these other guys like Albert Brooks and Don Rickles and Steve Martin doing their act from the couch sitting next to Johnny. Right? And so I suddenly went from wanting to stand on the star to wanting to be seated next to the king and make the king laugh. Right. Let the audience see making the king laugh. Right. That became the focus. And right at that moment, the gatekeeper taps me on the shoulder, Jim McCauley, and says, "You're ready for the Tonight Show." And I said, "Thank you. Been waiting my whole life." However,
get out of here!
I
really?
did. I was 26 and stupid, and I said, or 28, and I said, "What do you think if we waited till I had a TV show or a movie out, and then you could justify bringing me to the couch? Because I know there's a protocol. You can't just bring a new comic out to the couch. So let's wait till I have a movie or a TV show, saying that I have that. Right? That'll bring me to the couch, and then I'll do my act that you want me to. Right. At that point, I had no prospects for an audition, let alone a television show or a movie.
Really? So at this moment, you don't have anything back pocket. Nope. You're like, well,
The day
when I get
come.
back from the moon, we will do the show, and I'm going soon. It'll be great. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, and I said, I may call you in 6 hours and beg for this opportunity back. But for now,
I may call you and ask whose cock I have to suck to make up for my grievous error. But
absolutely, yes. And that, so it took about a little over a year, and the George Lucas produced, Ron Howard directed Willow movie came out, for which I was a little, this way guy. And it was enough for them to justify me seated there.
Right.
And
what year is this? 83, 84?
The first one was 88. And so Carson, when I knew, because he did characters himself, when I went into Peter Falk's Lieutenant Columbo character, sitting next to him, that he would lose his shit. And that's exactly what happened. And he had me back on 3 times a year until he retired. That's and cool, I just knew I would have an impact from the couch, but not from that star.
That's weird, man.
So those weird destiny moments, right?
Right. And were you a poor kid growing up?
No, middle class.
Middle class.
Middle class suburbs like you.
So that's kind of like, that was a big deal, man.
Huge.
Huge deal.
Oh, beyond.
Where it wasn't, you weren't to the manor born. It wasn't like, well, you know, I know people who know people. You fucking put yourself there.
I came from.
You put yourself on the Tonight Show, dude.
Yes,
Isn't that fucking astounding?
Well, that's the thing, to answer your question, which is these moments hit you.
Yeah.
So every now and then, like Ed McMahon passing, that all brings all that stuff back.
Totally.
And that's when you start to feel humbled by it all again. But those moments where you create your own destiny.
Yeah.
These are the ones that I'm often interested in from creative types like yourself. Because I know the movie we're working on now is the first one, am I right, that you haven't written?
First flick that I'm writing first film I'm directing that I haven't written yet.
Right.
I directed a pilot for a TV show that I hadn't written, but this is the first feature.
Right. So you've completely created your own destiny with each one of these projects of yours by creating the story and the characters from thin air.
Yeah.
And then, so from the first one on Clerks, you funded this with credit cards of your own?
Yeah, first one was made up of me and a friend of mine, Brian Johnson, got in this contest, get credit cards together. So I had a stockpile of credit cards that never used them.
Right.
So I read Robert Townsend, did Hollywood Shuffle, and put a majority of it on his credit cards. And also there was a teacher of mine, Mr. Sheen, Spanish teacher, who had taught us, well, he didn't teach us, but he told us that he was in the house flipping business on the side, where he would buy houses, fix them up, flip them. And he told us he'd put them on his credit cards. And I was just like, that's fucked up, man. You can do shit like that? I had no idea credit cards could do so much, man.
Well, they could. Not so much now.
Not anymore. But back in the day, they really could. So I had them all collected. I was like, let's just put it on there. And I borrowed $3,000 from my parents because we couldn't rent the equipment on credit cards from this company called Spirit Corp up here in New York. We had to pay cash. So they gave me $3,000 there, and then Scott Mosier, my producer, his parents gave us $3,000 to make the print at the end of it all, but the rest of it was just kind of credit cards. But it was that moment, man, like where you're just like, it just makes sense, man. But it's like you sit there, it's weird. It's like.
How old were you when you wrote Clerks?
I was 22.
And you wrote it because you had been a fan of other filmmakers, and
I had just on my 21st birthday I decided I wanted to be a filmmaker. I saw Richard Linklater's film Slacker up at the Angelica, and I was just like, loved it. I thought it was fantastic, but also felt like, wow, if this counts, I could fucking do this. Like if this counts as a movie, I can make a movie.
So what was it in you though that it's always the genesis that either freaks me out.
Fat. I think I grew up fat, so it makes you want to entertain people because that's what you're basically you're given full tools at birth. Some people's tools are different than others, and some, I didn't have what's the thin guy's tool? I didn't have whatever that is. Let's say it was a little garden weasel hoe. Instead, I had an ice pick, so I was going to stab people into liking me. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just you got to work.
Me.
Yeah, totally. It's a metaphor. I'm crazy. You just work on a different set of tools, and I think because I grew up fat, I was always in entertainment mode because that was how I could get over, particularly when it came to like the girls and shit later on. When it came time to get laid, I couldn't be like, who wants to fuck this lady, because I'm not grabbing my cock, I'm grabbing my gut at that point. And even when you grab your cock at age 15 and go, who wants to fuck this, generally chicks don't go for it.
Yeah.
Is what I found. Mm-hmm. Gussie, the gut even less so.
Yeah, I would think.
So you have to find different ways to get in there, and personality and being funny was that.
So, but what I'm curious about is what in you said I can do this, because when you use that heaviness to want to make people laugh, and in my case, it was a very similar sense that in order to get people's attention, I had to be the funny one. I had to be the funny one.
Yeah,
whatever that thing is that puts it in your head. But then there has to be something inside of you that says, I can do this. And you're saying seeing Slacker made you think, oh shit, I can do that.
Yeah. Seeing Slacker was because Richard Linklater made a deceptively easy-looking film.
Right.
And, I've since learned naturally that was ridiculous. You can't just look at Slacker and duplicate it. Or just like you can't look at any film. Like I was a huge and still remain a big Jim Jarmusch fan.
Right.
And you look at Stranger Than Paradise and you're like, who the fuck can't make that movie? But you can't. Like there's an art to it.
Yeah.
To turning on a camera and letting shit happen in front of it that you can't just duplicate. Like that's his style. That's his shtick. That's who he was. But seeing Slacker and seeing Jarmusch's flicks really made it seem plausible. Because I'm like, okay, I have no film training. I'd never had an interest in film whatsoever, just in as much as I like going to the movies, but not like classy films like Star Wars and all the fucking popcorn type movies. So watching those movies, I was just like, well, it doesn't seem, you just turn the camera on, shit happens in front of it, and people say funny things. I just have to be funnier than the shit I've watched. Like I remember sitting there watching Slacker, and I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was amusing. I thought it was funny, but I'm not, it's tougher to laugh out loud when you feel like your gig in life is making other people laugh. It's a lot tougher to find shit funny.
Sure.
Either bar is a little higher and stuff like that. And although then you hang out with your friends and somebody says poop and you're like ha ha ha.
Yeah.
So maybe the bar depends on the audience.
Yeah.
I guess. So I forget where I was going. Sorry, where'd I go with that? This happens a lot lately.
No. Listen.
No, where was I going? I had a point.
You were driving to the genesis, looking at Linklater's work and deciding, I can certainly do
Seeing
that.
it, thank you.
Right.
Seeing it all laid out, like very simply shot, not insanely composed. I'm not
Was
a
that it,
visually
though?
oriented
The thing that it
filmmaker.
looked simple?
It
in
looked
design?
simple. It looked simple, and really for me, it was just like, okay, like this was before the internet.
Right.
So really, it was like, here's a medium where you think it, create it, and then put it in front of people. And I like that. It seemed, a good process.
Yes.
From the moment you come up with an idea to the moment somebody could be like, good job in executing that idea. Didn't seem long, about a year. Then I discovered the internet, and I was like, fuck movies. Because, you just write something and boom, instantly get validation. And you're like, all right, I am clever. And then close it and go smoke weed for another 3 hours, and come back. Am I still clever? I am. And close it up again. So, had there been an internet, I doubt I would have gotten into the movies. And somewhere a bunch of non-fans are just like, fuck. If only the internet had been here sooner.
Oh, all right. Well, fuck them. Let's go to If We May. I want to take a moment to include some of these fine folks. Can we expect to see Red State?
As soon
What
as
can
I
you
find
tell
some
us
money.
about it?
Red State is this movie that I wrote about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, right around the same time I wrote Zack and Miri, but it's a decidedly different political horror film, and there's no laughs in it, really. And it's not like, this is my dream project, it's just something that I would like to do. But it's been tough finding money for it, because it's not a commercial movie by any stretch of the imagination. It's decidedly uncommercial. The only way it could work commercially is if it becomes that film where people are like, this movie's so fucking anti-commercial, you got to see it.
Right.
So that being said, it's
before.
tough to understand why we can't find money. Yeah. It's not even like something like Usual Suspects in its day was a tougher sell until people saw it and it became a movie that people, it's fun to watch and interesting and figure it out. But on paper, most people look at a movie like that and be like, ugh. But even that movie is way more commercial than fucking Red State.
Oh, yeah.
Red State is like, you hand a script over to somebody and it practically comes with a cover letter. There's just like, would you like to waste money on this? So it's been tough finding money for it. But I'll find it one day. And if not, I'll eventually do it myself.
That one
I
came...
just don't want to do that, though.
No.
I did that once.
Don't.
And it worked great. And I don't think it'll work good.
Don't jinx
again.
yourself.
Yeah, no way.
That one came from Rayanne W at 21, by the way, and at Martha_S. She's in Indonesia and still watching.
Right on.
Right? Even though my computer doesn't have internet, she in Indonesia have no problems watching this.
She'll be hosting next week.
Okay, so marry, fuck, kill.
Okay.
Does that mean anything to you?
Yeah.
All right. Scott Mosier, Jason Mewes, Jason Lee.
Marry Scott Mosier. Wait a sec. No, marry Jason Lee. Fuck Scott Mosier. Scott's kind of sexy. And kill Jason Mewes.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, but no, I mean, look, I would never kill him for real. But in a world where I got to pick one of those three,
That is the world we're dealing with.
in that world, then
Yes.
then he would, of those three, he would have to go.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, as I know, a lot of people. Silent Bob doesn't like Jay.
No.
I like him a lot. He's just kind of a pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm. But those are the people we care about the most. Are the ones who are the
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been like a marriage with music. It hasn't been a marriage. Really, it's been like raising a child. It really has. It's crazy. It's like raising a kid that I didn't have the benefit of fucking breaking it off and somebody to have. You know, it's like he's a handful, and I didn't even get to come.
Right.
So that's. But it's been good training for my own kid. My kid now will be a walk in the park. I don't care if my kid comes back to me and she's like, "I'm into Satan and killing little things." I'd be like, "Well, at least you weren't Muse." You know, boy, he was tough to deal with. Let me tell you a story.
Wow, that really sets her up for a wide canvas.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what she does. She's a good kid. She's got a good heart, man. I like her. I tend not to talk about her a lot because I don't want to oversell her.
No.
I hate when people do that with their kids. Like, my kid's so brilliant. They meet him. They're like, your kid's fucking retarded. So I tend to undersell my kid by telling people, like, my kid's such a dumbass and she has no fucking equilibrium whatsoever. And wait till you hear the shit comes out of her mouth. Then they meet her and like, she's lovely. What are you talking about?
Right.
Like, oh, is she? All right.
Undersell.
Completely
undersell,
undersell.
baby. She just had a birthday, yeah?
She did. Thank you for remembering. She just turned literally 10 on Friday.
Right. And,
10 years old.
You had quite the spectacle set up in the bullpen
We did.
for the birthday celebration. She's into the Jonas
It was
Brothers,
Megan,
clearly.
Megan said that it looked like Hannah Montana had vomited on set because she put up a bunch
High
of
School Musical.
decorations, High School Musical stuff. Yeah, yeah. I mean, when you're working on the flag, you just don't get to spend nearly as much time with people you love because you're, and you know they get it because it's like normally, like me and my wife, I spend an inordinate amount of time with my wife, more so than most couples. Like we saw, did you see Up yet?
Yes.
Okay, the beginning of Up, the really fucking sad part.
That's the two of you?
Yeah, very much so.
See, I didn't think it was really fucking sad.
Right? Because you're like, she died. And he gets another one.
No.
But this time it's an Asian boy. And she's like, go have your own adventure. He's like, I guess. She says it's cool I fucked this kid. That's what I got out of that movie.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what was intended.
Yeah, that's why it's making so much money.
Yeah.
People are like, I could be on that story. Wasn't it incredibly imaginative?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's Pixar, so
No.
just like goes without saying. But like, I remember I was watching that movie, and aside from like the copious amounts of fucking tears it draws out of you, you're just sitting there going, oh, it's awesome. There's a dog army, and they all talk. And they kept calling the kid a mailman. That fucking killed me.
Yeah.
They were like, the small mailman.
Right.
So
Now,
funny.
but it was your daughter's birthday setup on the set there that you put together of Hannah Montana throwing up everywhere that reminded me to ask how old were you when you discovered Degrassi and why?
Degrassi I found when I was working at Quick Stop, which is where we shot Clerks. And it was when Muse would come over on Sunday mornings. You do the papers in the convenience store. And they don't all come together, especially New York fucking Times comes in like 3 different deliveries.
Right.
And it's so heavy, so fucking heavy. I still remember it. I mean, Sunday mornings, your hands just be black from all, because it's just a series of this. Bam.
I was a paper boy. I know.
Bam. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And, oh my God. So Muse, my other friends, Brian and Walter, were my closest friends at that point. I was just like, come down and help me out on fucking Sunday mornings. They're like, yeah, we're going to wake up at 5:30. Right. Go help you make newspapers for $3. She's like, I'll give you $3. You know, this was like in 1993. I don't know what I was thinking, man. So Muse, who was our newest edition friend, and he was the youngest one of the bunch, he just started hanging out with first Brian and Walter, and then I inherited him when Brian and Walter were like, we're done with Muse. And he was the dude who would show up and be like, what do you want to do today? I'm like, well, we don't hang out. We are friends with the same people, but we're just, we're
fun
good.
moment.
Yeah, totally. And he was like, great, what are we going to do today?
Yeah.
So he just didn't leave after that point. But so we used to do the papers, and then he would stay, you know, because I couldn't drive him home because I was trapped there till noon. Right. I worked from 6 till noon on Sunday mornings, then I come back and close at night. So we had a TV. I started bringing a TV into work because I'm like, fuck it, boring. I'm going to bring a TV into work. And at first, Mrs. Topper, the boss, didn't like it, but then she could wash soaps on it, and so she liked it. She's like, but that's it. Then I started bringing the VCR over as well. And she was like, you push for too much, Kevin. I was like, yeah, well. So Sundays with the TV there, we started, you know, Sundays with fucking rabbit ears. Yeah. There wasn't a lot of selection, a lot of church.
So of course you
church on
were
TV.
picking up Degrassi from Canada.
No. You get it on PBS. Would run it all ad nauseum because
1993.
WGBH, out of Boston, would run it, and that's where it always run down here in the state. I had never heard of it before, and I remember we were flicking through the channels. We watched Silver Spoons. There was a Power Hour block of Silver Spoons from 11 till noon on Sunday, and that was good. But then after that, nothing. So we were like, what? And you always skip Channel 13 because you're like, fuck it, Charlie Rose and Sesame Street, fuck this noise. Although it sounds like you're like,
no.
So
Charlie's talking.
Totally, it's not a puppet. He's a real guy. So we usually skipped it, but as we were going through, we saw a teenage girl, and we were like, whoa.
Wait a minute.
We went back to it, and all of a sudden we're watching the show where we spent the first 5-10 minutes making fun of it. We're like, look at the little girl's an epileptic girl in the episode, Caitlin Ryan. And we were just like, what the fuck is this? Like an after-school special on Sunday.
Right.
Because there was a moral to it, But I'm like, but none of these kids are attractive. Like, that's what I really liked about it. None of them were attractive. Like, if you watch the new Degrassi, all those kids are very attractive.
Uh-huh.
Old Degrassi, man, they were like, no, let's just get real kids. So every fucking chick on that show, you had a shot at. So, it's a show where a fat guy could watch it and be like, I could get on with Caitlin Ryan. And I wanted to because she was epileptic. And it was one of those manageable handicaps where, you just hold her and make sure she don't bite her tongue or anything like that, swallow her tongue. So, but she's still cute, like Marley Maitland in fucking Children of a Lesser God, where she's deaf but she's smoking.
You're right.
What a perfect dream girl that would have been.
And how old were you at this point?
Which, for Degrassi?
Yes.
That was right around the time we would make Clerks soon.
22,
so between
23?
19 to 22 at that point.
Oh, okay.
So much so, and I became a big fan. We started making fun of the show, and then got into it. And then it was oddly compelling, and I was like, this shit is the bomb, man. Where's this on again? And there was another half hour right afterwards. So I looked up, mind you, pre-internet. So, we live in a world now where it's like, what is this? Well, let's find out.
Sure.
Back then, it was just like,
you
what
couldn't
is
really
it?
tell
no,
anybody.
you didn't know anything. And I couldn't, ask my friends, be like, no, dude, we don't watch pre-teen soap operas and shit.
Right.
So I had no
From Canada.
from Canada nonetheless. So I had no context. And then I started finding out more stuff as much as I could and watching every week. Then I started taping them. And people would come into the store on Sunday mornings and be like, are you watching that little kid show? I'm like, it's not a little kid show.
Right.
These issues are prevalent. And then when Clerks got picked up, the first thing I spent money on, like crazy money, some people drop it on a nice car and whatnot. This is before the days of DVD. I was trying to track down the entire series. They hadn't put it on tape. Like, you couldn't go to a store and buy it.
How many seasons were you after?
Well, you had, I think it was 2 seasons of junior high and 2 seasons of high. So 4 years worth of episodes. But what the jewel in the crown was, and if you haven't seen this, you're missing the fuck out. There's a movie called School's Out. They did a Degrassi feature to cap the end of that run. You're not familiar with it? It is amazing because they curse in it because it's them getting out of school. And they curse in at one point. And Joey Jeremiah, dude who wears the hat.
Yeah.
But not as cool as you. He's into Caitlin Ryan the whole show. And then finally they get together. Mm-hmm. Then he starts fucking Tessa Campanelli on the side.
Of course he does.
All during that summer. So he's got 2 going on. And then Caitlin finds out and has this awesome fucking breakdown scene at him at a party. Oh, it's so you're like, this is astounding. How did they keep this secret? And the only way to get it, and I learned about it from when I went up to film school in Canada. I lived with some Canadian dudes. I had a room in this house. And the dude who lived across from me in his room, Ken, his name was, he would always get mad at me because I'd clean the pan. Like, he cooked his back bacon in the pan, and then, he's just supposed to clean the pan when you're done. He's like, leave it. The oil, the juice makes it better. You just let the oil stack up in the pot, man. Jesus. Always. I was like, dude, what if I want to make something? Get your own fucking pan. I'm like, all right. But anyway, we bonded over Degrassi, and he was the one that told me about that feature. And I was like, how do I see it? Because, again, this is days before the internet. And he's like, I don't know. I saw it once. It was amazing. So when the film got picked up and I came into some money, I started calling up Scholastic distribution video houses looking for it. And I finally found one.
Jesus.
And I was just like, I would like to buy the entire run of Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High. And they're like, okay, what school is this for? I was like, okay, that's the thing. It's not a school, private collector. And there's a long beat of silence. And how old are you, private collector? I was like, look, I just like the show a lot. So I bought it for $6,000. Dude.
No.
$6,000. That was it. I mean, each tape was $109, and they wouldn't give me a fucking break because I wasn't a school. I was like, I'll teach people something. Just please cut me a break. They didn't. $6,000 I spent on it. The other day, Nick Perucci is a guy who publishes comics for a company called Dynamic Forces. He sent me this gift. He ran across the Degrassi series in a DVD store for $19.
Yes, he did.
Sent me the full season. I was just like, wow, I wasted a lot of money. But I didn't feel like a waste at that time.
No, of course.
Wanted it so bad. Loved the show. It's great. Became very good friends with all the people involved in the show. Linda Schuyler, one of the co-creators of the show. She still co-created, or she created this version, the new incarnation.
Right.
As well as the old.
Is there a reason you've never used a Zit Remedy song?
Yeah, just because they had one. Everybody wants some. I mean, look, I get blamed enough for having one fucking shtick that I keep running for 15 years. I'm not going to add Zit Remedy songs to it. People are still like, you're living off that Clerk shit too long, fat boy.
No one's actually saying that. All right, at Mike Rotman.
They do in my head, Kevin. Usually when I'm alone.
I'm going to give this one because
oddly when I'm masturbating.
That's not as odd as you think. At Mike Rotman.
Yes.
Wants to know about your obsession with the Hartford Whalers. He mentions the great teams in two of his films. Now, when my sweet Jamie's Penguins this year were
you got into
marching
hockey because you're a girl.
Yes, I did.
That's cool. That rarely happens.
No, I
think about it, dude. It's rare. It's usually like, my girl got into hockey because I dragged her every game. You got into hockey because of a girl. That's
well, because guys
you do
started
have
saying your girl.
You might have the ideal girlfriend, man. You like hockey
and Yinling.
And what?
Yinling beer.
Beer? You like weed?
Of course.
Ditch this fucking guy, man. Wow, you made out like a bandit. She likes fucking hockey. And he paid you a very nice compliment where he said you were raised on The Simpsons, so it made you as smart as him or something like that.
Smarter than him.
Yeah, there it is.
But as her Penguins were marching towards,
I called that early. I said Pens and 7 the moment they entered the Cup.
But you were also giving a tip of the hat to the '84 Whalers,
the Edmonton Oilers, the '84 Edmonton Oilers. I felt this year, and I took some shit for it online. They're like, no way, and I certainly don't mean in terms of skill level and whatnot, but in terms of the feeling of the young team that got their ass handed to them by the Grand Masters the year before. Who came back. I mean, you know how hard it is to fucking work your way through the regular season and the playoffs to get back to the same point you were a year before? I mean, that's why people love sports, the drama behind them. Aside from watching people do something that you can't do, or just a pastime to forget that one day you're going to fucking die alone screaming. You just watch sports because there's drama.
Wait a second. Die alone screaming.
Because there's drama to it. And that was, to me, the most enjoyable aspect of the Stanley Cup playoffs this year was like, it's going to be the same fucking two teams again, man. And they're going to do it. They're going to do it.
And people thought you were crazy for thinking that because the Pens started horribly.
Yeah, they just started really badly. Yeah. But once they turned it on, dude, once it was clear they were going to the playoffs, I'm like, oh, they're hungry. They want it so badly. And it was reminiscent of the story that Gretzky tells about him and Kevin Lowe going back to the dressing room after they got their asses handed to them in '83 when they're playing the Islanders. And the Islanders were a dynasty team at this point. So they'd run 5 times in a row at that point. So,
did they really?
Yeah. At Oilers might be one of the last true dynasties. I don't know if we'll ever see one again. It's much, much harder to fucking win the Stanley Cup now than it was 15, 25 years ago at this point. The game just gets harder and harder because people get better and better. That's why, Gretzky was the father of the reinvention of the game at this point. The game everyone's playing now is pretty much based on the play of Wayne Gretzky. Because prior to that, nobody really played the game in the way that Gretzky did. Nobody went to the puck. Everybody chased the puck. And this dude was like, I'm going where the puck's going to be. And that was his brilliance. So in '83, they're walking back he tells a story of them walking back to the locker room. I always try to put it in film terms, and I want to say dressing room.
Yeah, of course.
Which sounds so less butch.
Yeah.
Like the Oilers were in their dressing room. They're trying to get back to the locker room. Locker room, that's a man word. Nice. Trying to get back to the locker room where they were suck each other's dicks, I guess.
No,
not that. That goes back. I'm sorry.
That's a dressing room.
Can't do it. Dressing room. Yeah. My bad. So they're walking back and they have to walk past the Islanders' dressing room, locker room. See, I'm doing it again.
It's all right.
We played hockey recently up in Brantford, and the whole time I kept referring to we have hockey rehearsal this weekend.
Oh no!
And people were just like,
oh no,
dude, we practice hockey. Yeah. So anyway, they're walking past the dressing room. They didn't want to do it because they're like, when people win the cup, they go all fucking crazy.
Yeah.
drink out of it, and woo, it's a big party.
Or swim with it.
Swim with it as well, as we've seen in books and whatnot. They're like, fuck, man, anything to get past this room without having to hear the celebration.
Right.
They get to the room, and it's quiet. It's deathly quiet in the room, and they looked in, and it's all the Islanders, man. You're talking about, I guess, Bossy, Trottier, fucking Billy Smith, all those dudes at that point just wrecked, laying on the floor. They won the Stanley Cup, but they were broken, just truly broken. And he was like, that was the moment we realized what it takes to win the Stanley Cup is to empty the fucking tank. He's going, because we could have played 2 more periods. We were fresh. These cats they had emptied the tank and they won. We knew that next year that's what we had to do. So it felt like Penn's had the same vision quest going in. They're like, okay, we play like, I hate to name drop, but Quentin said this thing to me once, Quentin Tarantino, which I always love because it's so true. I called him up just to blow him about Kill Bill 1 and 2. I was up in Vancouver shooting a movie, and so I had a lot of time in the trailer. I sat around watching back to back, and I'd seen him before and loved him. Watched them back to back, waiting to shoot and shit. And afterwards, I breathe that rarefied air where I live in a world where you can call somebody up and be like, I like your movie a lot, without writing it on the internet, just literally call them up. So I called that dude up, and I was just like, dude, man, I know I told you before, but this shit is fucking brilliant, man. I just watched this back to back, and I just blew him about it for like 10, 15 minutes. And then he started talking about wanting to make another Chopsaki movie. And I said, why? And he's going, because by the time Kill Bill 1 and 2 were done, I just knew how to do it. Right. Like I was kind of well trained. And then suddenly, just when I got to the point where I knew the most, it's over. Right. And he's like, it feels stupid to not use those tools again. So I think the Penns had the same, they're like, we did it. We got there. And they showed us what it takes to win. And now, thank you for the courtesy, right. Red Wings. Next year, we're going to use it against you, and that's what they did. So I felt it, man. I wish I'd put money on it, though. Like, if I fucking put, like, $100,000 on Pens and 7, I'd be so rich.
I didn't put 100.
There'd be the Kevin Smith chat show.
I didn't put $100,000 on it, but I did.
Did you put money on it? Did you gamble?
I dropped a huge bet 2 minutes before the puck dropped.
You said that. I saw you.
7.
Yeah, and you told me that. Yeah. And what's a huge bet? Without being...
There are thousands involved.
Really?
Not 100,000.
Why didn't you call me, dude? I would have went in on that.
All right, call.
I totally would have made that bet.
Crazy bet.
But awesome.
So
if I did that, we lost, and I was always like, hi, Kevin.
That's why I can't call you. That's why I can't call you with my stupidity. That ends up being genius because
I love
every reason you just gave. But Hartford Whalers, I'm hearing no love.
Whalers, I've referenced the Whalers in Mallrats for sure, and I've referenced them. I did some blogging this year, as I did last year for the NHL.com, right. And I referenced them because first round of the playoffs, they were the Devils, who's my team, was playing the Carolina Hurricanes, and they used to be the Hartford Whalers. So I made a joke about like, you can't hate the Whale. Everyone loves the Whale. The Whale's cute, And then I was mad because they won.
To tell you again, a little more love towards my love, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
The Canes, I believe, beat Boston.
Yes.
And Boston, who was supposed to
have the
best
was
record,
team of destiny
right?
This year. Everyone kept saying like
Boston's
going to do it. It's Bruins
so
year.
Canes beat them.
Yeah.
And then the Pens sweep the Canes.
Yes.
That's when it becomes crystal clear, I'm guessing. But my love, we go into the bar to watch the game, trying to find a bar in Los Angeles that has a Pens game.
Yeah, good
ridiculous. Brought for game 4 of the sweep, brought a broom into the bar. Come on.
That's too funny.
You gotta love
Where'd you find her?
None of your business.
No, I want to know. Where did somebody find? Really?
Yeah, of course.
Were you shooting a movie there?
None of your business. Now, it'll all be in the book that she writes when I'm dead.
There it is.
This is a great one. I love this question.
He fucked like he wore hats badly. That's the opening line. Everyone's like, I'm in. There you go, dude. That's you.
Yeah, man.
That's Pollak.
Thank you.
See, I get
with this lighting, fine.
Look, I can't hide from the gut. You can't hide with the hat.
No, I can't. You're absolutely right.
You should make me take a shirt off, though.
No.
He's like, that's quite all right.
I have too much love and respect. At Brad2167.
Yes.
Asked
him? That motherfucker?
Yeah, right?
No.
He asked, what's your favorite Batman story? Now, before you launch, because you're going to go at least 93 minutes on it. I know. We love Tim Burton. And as Jim was pointing out earlier, he's one of those rare artists that Burton-esque means something.
Yeah.
And that's a rare thing for
Very
storytellers. And when he throws up on Disneyland once a year between September and January, I don't know if you've been to the haunted house after Burton's had his way.
Yeah,
with
where
it.
they do the Nightmare Before Christmas version.
Fucking unbelievable.
It is fantastic. He doesn't do that himself, though.
Well, but
not like Tim's like, I got all my shit in the car.
No.
I got to redecorate the haunted mansion.
He doesn't.
No.
But
I'm sure Tim Burton's like, they do that?
Yeah, what
That's
are you
nice.
talking about?
Hold on, I'll be over here counting my money.
Yeah.
Being artsy.
But
Did you see the pictures for his Alice in Wonderland?
She was just showing me.
But Anne Hathaway, she's not playing Alice, right? She's playing White Queen. White Queen, right? Somebody was trying to tell me Alice, and I was like, oh, they hired a little girl for Alice. I saw a picture of her online.
Gotta be. But when he had that scene in the first Batman movie, and I loved the casting of Michael Keaton so that everyone would go crazy and go nuts, and you look at his
totally work.
Yeah,
best
right?
Batman.
And
still, hands down, I feel the best Batman.
I love that you said that. But there's that scene that drives me crazy when they in the Wayne Manor,
yeah,
and they've got the outfits of the great warriors,
various costumes he's
vigilantes.
Yeah.
And the lore that you know much better than I, but I have to ask this because I've been dying to know, that the lore and legend is that Wayne inherited this money at a certain age and then went around studying the great vigilantes around the world.
It wasn't so much the great vigilantes, but he went out and studied and turned himself into a great criminologist.
But that's what those suits represent.
In the movie, those suits were just like, it's just an arsenal.
Like how he learned to put together the utility belt all those things were designed on his studies.
Yes and no. It depends how far back you go with the lore. I mean, some of that stuff is like, Frank Miller's reinvention, which is great, and we all accept it as gospel, but like Bob Kane, man, the original Batman story is like fucking very Spartan, and it sets the game up for just that character. And then that's it, although he had him wearing a gun and shit, which, Batman wouldn't do based on his origins. So it just gets added to, as time goes on and whatnot. But so I wouldn't say from the jump that it was like Bruce Wayne traveled the world with his money and blah, 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 but that's later on, they've added pieces of like, he's like Jesus. What was he doing from fucking, 2 to 12 or whatever, or more than that? From 12, the last time they got him in the Bible, he's 12 years old. And he's like leaves his parents and he goes to a church and shit. They can't find him, and he was hanging out with a bunch of Pharisees and Sadducees, and they're all like, "This kid's pretty fucking smart."
Right.
I don't know if you know much about Jesus. Probably not. I could probably do a few hours for you. Tell you about this fascinating character.
I'm a big follower of his early Jewish work.
Yeah. He was, man. People always tend to forget that, but he was the original Jew.
But also, that's why it was
the original self-loathing Jew was like, I hate Jewish, being Jewish so much, I'm gonna become Catholic.
Right. Which is why it was so shocking that the rabbis would have him killed.
Really? Yeah.
But now let's go to your favorite Batman story, because I believe that was the question.
Okay.
Is there an actual?
I mean, probably hands down would be Dark Knight Returns. Still, Frank Miller's, redefining work. That was the one that brought me back to comics when I was a kid. I read comics when I was a child, and then you get old and you're like, I'm too cool for comics. I'm all about pussy. And then you learn later on in life that you can have comics and pussy too.
It's a great day.
Yeah, we're just like these two wonderful things together. Yeah. And how weird is it that I chose comics over pussy at one point?
No, it's crazy. Right. It's a learning curve.
Yeah, when you can combine the two, though, comics will never let you down.
Mm-hmm. That should stop.
Yeah, it should stop. I do that a lot.
No. I want everyone to hear what you're saying. But now you're involved in your own creation of a comic.
Yeah. I've done some comic book work, which has been met with not kind words, but then I built a reputation for lateness, bad reputation for lateness, which in that business is pretty much death. They like their book coming out on schedule. When they say the book's coming out, that's when they want the books to happen. And I just, I don't have, I'm a carpetbagger when it comes to comics. I like to do it, and it's fun to do, and I can ride my reputation from the other business into it, but I can't give it the time that
it needs.
Yeah, that people who are comic book pros can give it and whatnot. Right. So mine is a kind of like do it when I can do it kind of thing, or when I have time. And I found like this window of time to write this like 3-issue Batman miniseries called Cacophony, which my friend Walter drew. And chiefly that's why I did it, because I was like, well, I want to do a book with Walt, because this is a dude who got me back into comics, and he's an artist, and we've never done anything he's published. He's done some work at two other books at one other company. So I was like, all right, I'm not going in and saying like, hey, hire me and my fucking dog's going to do the artwork. You know, and dude comes with his own set of skills to some degree.
Right.
Some guys say some degree because some people got mad. It's so weird. People get mad when you're like, hey, I want to work with my friend. They're like, oh, you fucking jerk, you should let a professional have a job. I'm like, it wouldn't exist if I didn't want to do it with my friend. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it's not, I don't know. That just always bugs me. It's so weird when people try to tell you how to fucking conduct your affairs, to live your life. And they're fucking like literally like working at McDonald's, which I'm all into because I eat a lot of McDonald's, obviously. But Jesus, man, like, you get your plan together, then come back and tell me how to run my shit.
Yeah, and also if you want me to bring my expertise to something and you'd like to take advantage of that and exploit it however you would, go ahead and let me do it however I think I should do it.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, and that's something I'm used to dealing with in the acting world, because you always come into, everyone has a different movie in their head. That's what you learn, particularly like on something like this, Couple of Dicks, right? I didn't write the script. So it's arbitrary in as much as like the movie you're seeing may be the right one. The movie I'm seeing may be the right one. When I write the script, I know that I'm seeing the right movie, and if everyone else isn't, then fuck them, they're not on the right page. But in this, I find myself on unsure footing, and not in as much where I'm like, I don't know if the movie works, and like comedy's comedy, it works, and the plot seems to be working as well. But I do find myself sitting there going like, I can't, with the utmost assurity, be the final word. Don't feel it. I'll always defer to like the writers, or I'll always solicit, what do you think? Does it work? Does it work?
That just makes you a purist.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. It might, but I don't mean it as a slight to this flick by any way, stretch of the imagination. In fact, it's been really nice to kind of throw off the yoke of like being one way your entire life, and then being like, oh, this is interesting to try this. Because to be honest with you, fucking directing movies this way is far easier than directing movies the way I normally do it. You know, you fucking live every moment of that project, from the moment you're like, wouldn't it be funny if like they had a donkey show at work or something like that, all the way to the moment you're like, it is so not funny that they had a donkey show at work, because if one more fucking person tells me the donkey show was funny, like, I'm just over the donkey show, you know, because you've just lived with it every step of the way. On a movie like this, there's no I'm sick of it factor, because like it's still new. I mean, I didn't write the script, so I haven't been living with the script for like the year that the writers were. And then on top of that, and this is not to say the script is really strong. There's a script on the blacklist, as you know, which means something in that business. It means that people liked it or whatever. Yeah. One of the best unproduced screenplays of that year. And then we had to go and fucking produce it. Really.
I know.
But it's a funny script to begin with. But that being said, when you have like incredibly funny talents and people who are, you know, I learned early on, man. Fucking, I used to be one of those guys. First 3 movies where I'm like, I'm the writer, and only what I say gets in the script. Then I worked with like Chris Rock and Will Ferrell, and I was just like, oh my god, these dudes are fucking. They forgot more about comedy than I'll ever know. So like, any joke wins. I don't give a shit anymore, because ultimately I get credit anyway. So I'm like, fucking give me your best material, motherfucker. But I'm a purist, so I'll always cop to it. I'll always be, people be like, I love that part, and I'm like, was this dude made that line up and shit like that, because I can't take credit for, you know, something that ain't mine. And that way I'm not really made out or cut for this business at all. But fuck, I forgot where.
Well, but do you think that you're saying that it's a lot easier because
way easier because because literally, dude, like think about how much direction I gave you on Friday.
You said play and have fun with it.
I mean, come on, that's because I could go. You're fully prepared. There's nothing I could tell you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and also I've never been the director, and it's not that type of movie where you're like, okay, in this scene, you're feeling. I hate that. I hate fucking people that are like trying to direct emotion and shit. Because it's just like, how long you been acting?
Long.
What am I going to tell you that you don't fucking know? Except maybe like some hidden piece of information. But in terms of getting you to a state.
No, I'm counting on ideas. Which way? You know, that's basically what I'm counting on. Or to just say, pull it back, push it out. Those kind of
That's
things.
what a director does, man. Yeah. Traffic cop job.
Well,
that's why on this movie I feel more like a traffic cop, because I didn't write it. So I feel like, well, that thing that I normally do has been removed, so now I'm just this thing. I'm honestly afraid that I will get spoiled by this movie and not be able, because I said going into it, people were like, why are you going to do it? And I said, because I can always go make a Kevin Smith movie. Like fucking, you know, that's what I do. But it'd be nice to see if I could go make somebody else's movie. But like I said, it's so easy, and I don't, and also you're not competing with a performance that I had in my head from before I even thought about you as the guy.
Absolutely.
So there's that freedom too. Like you come in and you play it, and even if I didn't agree with it, I'd be like, you know what, he's making a choice and he seems to believe in his choice, so like we'll live with it.
Yeah.
But thankfully I come in and it's just like, oh, he's doing exactly what I hoped, and he's layering on soupçons of excellence in addition.
Well, let's talk about the people taking your words on their own journey. I'm experiencing this in a film. I've been a member of the Writers Guild for many, many years, but mostly in television. I'm experiencing this in a film now that I wrote with George Gallagher. He's directing, and our friend now, very new to me, but your longtime friend, Jason Lee, is one of the leads. And Jason,
he's in it too?
Yeah, he's one.
So he's in this movie as well.
Yeah, I know. He works
which
Tuesday,
nobody knew
the
until
big wedding.
now.
God damn it!
Hey, you just scooped somebody.
But he's very strong and very creative with his ideas for the storyline, and he's made it stronger. Yeah. He's very, very strong.
Oh, you love an actor like that.
I do.
An actor who comes and, I mean, look, and this is, I don't think I'm telling tales out of school. I think the writers would be the first to cop to this. Rob and Mark Cullen wrote the couple of dicks, and again, I can't say it enough, and I don't say it just as a disclaimer to get it out of the way. It's a wonderful script.
It really is.
Really enjoyable. I've never met anybody who read that script that was just like...
And we hate everything, let's face it.
Yeah, and it's a tough fucking business, man, where people are just like critical and jaded and fucking shitty. So when you find enough people agreeing that, like, even like, you know, begrudgingly, like, it's funny, I guess. Like, that's amazing.
You even got that jerk.
You got that guy, too. That all being said, there's a lot of people, when you got funny people bringing something to it, you want to encourage that. The writers, the characters, we've always had problems with the two characters that you guys play, your names. At one point, it was Murray and Simmons for years, and for months. We always refer to them, even now, as like Murray's there, Simmons there, even though it's like Hunsaker and Mangle, because they couldn't clear those names. But the Murray and Simmons characters were always kind of blank ciphers until you guys got cast. Once the reading happened, I read you at the reading, you were at the reading, but once the reading happened, once Adam spoke, suddenly they got it. Everyone was like, that's it.
There's a pupil-student relationship.
Totally, and you guys play it so well, and you do that thing that I like so much, where you do things where you say a line like this, and you just let it sit there. You have fun with the delivery. There's some, as I get older in life, man, and like the piss and vinegar of youth goes away, and you just kind of settle in for what is your life. You know, it's like it took me a few years to get used to it and shit. And, I had so much righteous indignation as well as being, like, a very easy to get along with guy. Like, I could get my dander up like that, get my hackles up, and it's over shit like rudeness. Always comes down to. Yeah. Now, I'm just kind of at this place where I'm a little more comfortable in my own skin. I'm like, this is me. This is who I am and shit. And you find shit about the job that never existed before. Maybe it's different because I didn't write it this time around. But what I enjoy most on this movie is literally just watching craftsmen and women work.
Right.
Like watching actors drop a fucking performance clinic. And it's just so fun. It's just so much fun to watch. Like, I can't say it enough, and I don't want to oversell it as well, but like watching you and Adam Brody act on Friday was so fun. It's just, I don't know how else to describe it. Like, the job is what it is, and it's never very difficult, but, there are days where it's more exciting than others.
Sure.
And there are days when you're watching two people fucking, like, musically bounce off one another so well. It's just like, I'll pay you to come to work,
But again, this is what happens with creative types. You can't really...
We just suck each other's dick.
Well, no, but you can't. But also, you can't take a compliment.
Yeah, I know. It's true. I can't either.
No, I'm horrible.
I'm bad at it.
I want them horribly,
yeah, I know.
But I don't want them.
It's a real sick thing where it's just like, I crave validation, but don't tell me. Say it behind my back.
Right. Write it somewhere in the paper.
Totally.
I can read it
Put
on
it online where I can
page.
read it in an impersonal position. And that's me.
But that was a scene where we were supposed to be listening to Tracy Morgan and Bruce Willis making fun of us. And that was our job. That was our part of the scene. We were the guys whose faces the egg was being broken on. And so when we came around to do our coverage, the last thing in the world I thought was going to happen, or I was even contemplating or expecting, never even crossed my mind, that you would say, well, you guys go ahead and don't take their shit. Just
Oh, I know.
Go ahead and
you couldn't
and have your own moment.
Two, like, well, even, I mean, granted, that's your first appearance in the movie. but we have shot days with you. So I knew what the chemistry was. And I'm just like, there's no way these two characters just sit there and take it. You know, it's like they're fucking...
But I was
these
fine
dudes are
with
muttering and you guys are muttering to yourselves.
But the interesting thing from a creative standpoint, seriously, and my own character's ego, his ego, I was fine with being dumped on
being the guy
by these two guys.
I know, and I appreciate appreciate that about you so much.
But I mean,
and you should get credit for it. Some people might come in and be like, well, I got to fucking upset this apple cart in a big way to make the character more like me. And a true actor jumps in there and goes just like, okay, I'll do this exactly as written and still fucking make it a character and still make it interesting and still infuse it with life. And then layer in the soupçon of the excellence as well on top of it. So I appreciate that as a guy who as the guy whose job it is to play traffic cop and to kind of keep an eye on the tone overall of the movie.
That's huge, by the way.
It is, and that's the job, really. It's just all about safeguarding the tone.
Because when we're in the sandbox playing, first thing you lose sight of is the big picture.
Absolutely, because you're just like, it's
idea.
no longer about the plot. It's all about
Little
these
beats.
fuckers making fun of these fuckers, and I'll just watch this for 2 hours.
Right.
So, boy, I forgot where I was going with that, too.
It was all riveting.
Yeah. Too much weed, Kev.
No.
Too much weed lately.
I'm here for it. Lately.
Yeah, I've not been a huge stoner. That's only like in the last 8 months. Now I'm a huge stoner though. I went in quick, dude.
Did you?
Yeah, man. It's so much
first?
so that like I was talking to my wife the other day. I was like, man, like because we were talking about relative of ours diagnosed diabetic and like the massive lifestyle change ahead of them. And there's always a concern of ours because my father's diabetic and a lot of people in my father's family was diabetic and shit. But so far, me, no. But, you know, I was like, man, I couldn't do it. I don't think I can make a dramatic lifestyle change like that where everything about you is suddenly different and opposite of what it was. And she's like, you just became a stoner 8 months ago. And I was like, you're right. I did embrace rather quickly, didn't I? But that's fun, man. Thinking if I, you know, I guess if they made some diabetic medicine, if I became diabetic and if they made some diabetic medicine that made you feel as good and fucking social as weed does, then I'd become a diabetic.
You'd be all over that as well.
I'd be, yeah, totally. I'd be eating sugar like crazy.
Yeah.
I do it now anyway.
No. I'm gonna go. We got a little thing on the show we like to do. First of all, I didn't set up the Larry King game, and so you weren't properly warned. But you did see the
I saw
Dana Carvey interview,
and I also saw a clip reel of blah blah blah. About
okay, so you know technically at some point, not now, but at some point you will be responsible to come up with your
that. And it's basically the you say something ridiculous and then go to a phone call.
Yeah, I'll give you an example.
Okay,
if you'd like.
I remember I was watching it going like, yeah, I could do that. But I couldn't remember. Were there three things? Or
three things to remember. Larry King, God bless him, hell of a career.
Yeah.
But it's only a matter of time that he shares something on the air about himself that we really don't need to know.
Does he do that? I think I was on that show once. Is he really?
He really is. Yeah.
I mean, I know I have respect for what he does and who he is, but I've never really watched that show.
Well, that'll be helpful because rule one.
I know what he does, though. I mean,
is a bad Larry King impression.
Okay.
So you can't fail. Bad Larry King impression.
So just real bad?
It can't be good.
Then can I put a dick in my mouth?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a bad impression.
Yes.
Traditionally, he never has dicks in his mouth.
No.
So if I'm like, I'm Larry King, that's a bad Larry King impression.
Don't tease us with the first part of it.
That is. I'm gonna bury it like that.
No. So you do a bad Larry King impression with a cock, and then you reveal something about yourself.
Right.
To the home
but
viewer
Larry.
As Larry.
As Larry.
Right? This is Larry.
I would say I have a dick in my mouth is pretty revealing.
Yes. But here's an example.
I gotta go to a city.
You'd think in economic hard times would make it easier to find the blood of babies I need to survive. Intercourse, PA, hello.
And then you go to the city. Yeah. That's it.
And then you go to the city. It should be helpful if the city is funny sounding. But first, before we get to that, we have another thing on the show we like to call the Tweet 5, which you get from the Twitter fans.
Okay.
And they write in
you believe in that. You're big into the Twitter.
I love the
what
fact
are you up to now?
that
Followers.
It helps the
I
community.
mean, I hate to compare dicks and look at you immediately like, I don't pay attention.
No, I pay attention.
Do you?
I'm all about it.
Yeah,
but your number is so much bigger than mine.
It's up there.
It's absurd.
You know what that is? It's all about quality tweeting.
Yes, of course.
All you got to do is give them something to read every day. It's crazy, man. And I've been training for Twitter for the last 15 years by way of the website.
Right.
So I got kind of an unfair advantage because I know how to be pithy and fucking like hit home hard.
Right.
So much so that people respond in big droves and whatnot.
I think it has more to do with people who actually really, really fucking love what you do. But
Yeah, but I've been online, dude, since like since '95.
Your fan base.
Yeah, but it's crazy how like I will run into people who'll be like, "You have a website?" I'm like, "That's all I got going for me, dude. What do you know? Like what do you know me from?" They're like, "Weren't you on Degrassi?" I'm like, "Yes." But
just so you could nail Caitlin.
Yeah. I did. Yeah, it was awkward.
You finally got. I
got to kiss her.
You made out with her a little.
Yeah,
I saw it.
It was pretty cool.
Jamie insisted that we sit down and watch it.
It was good. It was fun. That was fun to do because it was like life is a series of every once in a while you get these dreams come true that you didn't even know you had that dream. Like I never would have dreamed of being on Degrassi and fucking playing myself and being involved in a.
You shouldn't have that dream.
No, because if you're like a doctor, my dream is I want to be involved in a romantic triangle on Degrassi Junior High. They're like, we need to put you over in this room.
Yeah, and get more rubber padding.
Yeah. But it was a nice moment.
Oh hell yeah! So we have this rapid fire question thing called Tweet 5. We'll get 5 rapid fire questions. There's no wrong answer.
Okay.
This comes from @Tracy_Turner.
Okay.
Rapid tweet 5 question number 1, which you've kind of already answered. Jason Mewes or Jason Lee?
Wow, that's tough.
Right.
I mean, Jason Mewes over
right? That's not even fair.
Yeah, it's not fair. I mean, what's the situation? Are we in a foxhole? Is there a fucking missile coming in, or is it like which
involved?
one? Yeah,
right.
Am I fucking one of them?
Right.
It's my dream. I'm always dreaming about the situation where there's a gun to my head and I have to suck some dick. Because then I'll be like, wasn't my fault, man. Wasn't my fault. I just can't.
Does anyone have a gun?
I'm like,
tweet 5 number 2.
Oh, great. You know how many hits this talk show would get if I just started sucking your dick? You got a gun to my head. Like people click on it. You know how like when you look on something on YouTube, they have one image to define it. It would be like you like this, and I'm like, oh, like a tears going down my eyes. Well, people be like, you must watch Kevin Pollak's chat show. Somehow he got the clerk guy to suck his dick at gunpoint. Somehow. Why didn't he just leave?
Why would that's what I would need, obviously, to get on the front page above the fold of the New York Times.
Yeah, it takes a little more.
Okay, and then number 2, easy. Devils or Penguins? Duh.
Devs.
Yeah.
Devs.
Which are more difficult, children or movie stars?
Movie stars.
Movie stars way.
Kids are easy, man.
Number 4, kind of lame, dogs or cats? Really? That's in there?
I was a cat person my whole life growing up, but really I'm a dog person.
How'd you find that out?
When I was finally allowed to buy a dog. My mom wouldn't let us get a dog, but we were allowed to have cats. And at one point, we became the cat family, where like we had 4 cats inside. And then outside, my mother just started feeding the strays and shit. And then the more come. And no lie, dude, every day after about 3 o'clock and shit, 4 o'clock, my old man, he's retired at this point. His whole day was centered around feeding these fucking cats outside. It was crazy. And he hated it. He was always bitching, fucking Grace, why do I have to feed the cats? But he did it. Like, nobody told him to do it. Like, my mom a couple times was like, stop feeding them, dude. They'll go away. And he was like, no, they're out there. You know, and he felt a sense of responsibility. And he had, like, a bus bucket, like a plastic Tupperware bucket, but big ones for, like, bussing tables and shit at restaurants.
Sure.
And he would get that. And it was just the worst. Like, it looked like something like fucking Joe Rogan would make you eat on Fear Factor. It was just everything in the fridge that was ready to go was edible, borderline edible. Right. So, like, if there was food left over from dinner, bread rinds, fucking old cat food that was very, very inexpensive, water, shit, just everything. It was just mishmash and shit. And then he had, my old man had like a series of strokes and whatnot, so he had a limp and one of the arms wasn't fully active. So at a certain point, I had to carry the fucking bucket outside and shit. And I'm like, don't involve me in your private hell. And he would open the door, man, and you would step 1 foot out the back porch. And it was like that fucking Sleepwalkers, what was it, Sleepwalkers? I forget that Stephen King movie about the cats. It was crazy. They would just, like ninjas, come out of everywhere. And no lie, hands down, 42 cats.
This is in the suburbs?
Yes.
Let's be clear.
Yes, in the suburbs, 42 cats. And put the fucking bucket down. We had to move to 2 buckets at a certain point because 42 can't fit in.
No, they can't.
Create a lot of cat fights. And then he would sit there and bitch about it. And then he would sit there and fucking manage the line because he had his cane. So he would fucking be like, move, move, move. That one didn't get enough. And he would be like, looking out for the little guy and shit. I always found that kind of amusing. I'm like, this is how you want to spend your retirement? But we were a cat family until we had a nor'easter in '92. All those cats went bye-bye.
Yeah.
We were finding them for fucking weeks under houses. Shit, people bring back stiff cats going, this is one of yours? I was like, yeah, throw it in the backyard. Put it on the pyre.
As it were.
Yes.
And last question, maybe not so easy as it seems.
Yeah.
Jersey or LA?
Jersey.
I have slam dunk.
Yeah. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I like LA, and I don't feel like
And you've been living out there a while.
I've been out there since 2002. That was when the wife was just like, I'm done with New Jersey. And I was like, all right. So I had to follow the pussy. That's where the pussy went.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You'll get that soon. You'll be living in Pittsburgh. You'll know what I'm talking about. Where you're like, well, I like where it came from, but Pittsburgh. No,
the topography of Pittsburgh is fantastic.
I like Pittsburgh a lot.
Reminds me
My
of
old lady,
I
I'll
was
be honest
shocked
with you,
how much I loved
couldn't stand Pittsburgh because she's not. It's not like she didn't dislike the city. Climate-wise, she is one of those thin fucking.
Well, same thing with New Jersey in terms of how.
Oh yeah, but then it's just
it's cold and miserable.
Yeah, it's worse.
I'm a California wussy. I'm totally on her side.
Yeah,
there's no need
she's
for
that
freezing
person,
weather,
man. I've reached that place too where I'm like, why do you want to live anywhere where you have to shovel the walk? It doesn't make sense to me.
No.
Go there, visit there.
Sure.
I think in California, if you want snow, man, you drive up to Big Bear and you'll have snow in like 2 hours.
Bingo.
But it's your choice,
right?
As opposed to just having to deal with it.
I
like Pittsburgh though. Pittsburgh is it's.
Well,
it's
I'm
a nice
from San
town.
Francisco originally, which is known for its hills and beautiful topography, and that's what blew me away about Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
With the rivers and the bridges and the rolling hills, which ridiculous. You picture the
It's
steel
beautiful.
town.
It's a best kept secret, I think, in Pennsylvania. A lot of people don't give it credit. And I've been living in Battery Park here while we're shooting, and I referred to it as the Pittsburgh of New York. And some cats got out of sorts about it. They were just like, "What's that supposed to mean?"
You tweeted, "I'm in the Pittsburgh of New York," right? And I was like, "What the hell is he talking about?"
And people were like, "Why? It stinks?" And I'm like, "No, it's because I'm surrounded by water, and yes, it stinks a little. No, because we were surrounded by. It just felt like being in Pittsburgh with all that water and all those bridges and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like I look at my window, there's 3 bridges. I'm like, this is fucking Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
New Yorkers don't like that though.
No, they don't want to hear it. Tell me a little about the Smodcast, please.
Smodcast is a podcast we started about
you
2
and
years
Mosier?
ago. Me and Scott Mosier. I had this idea where I was like, dude, we don't hang out like we used to and talk like we used to because we're all work oriented. Let's do this thing where we sit down and do we're forced to have a conversation with each other that's not about work.
Oh, nice.
And that's how it began. And it's funny because it didn't cover a natural gift that he has to do it. It started about 2 years ago now.
Oh,
it's not long. I've been online. I mean, we started the View Askew website back in '95, but Smodcast is only about 2 years old at this point. But
View Askew started in '95.
ViewAskew.com. We went online at the tail end of '95 because we were up.
That's
we were
crazy.
using extras for Chasing Amy from the
You couldn't even
website.
use a credit card to get porn in '95.
Yeah, and it downloaded really slow in '95 too. I heard.
I thought I'd let that one sit there,
Thanks.
and it paid off nicely.
I did.
All right,
I
so
remember.
2.5
Do you remember seeing your first online? What do they call it? Bestiality.
My first?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you were using the
you were
royal
dressed
you.
as Cupid, I believe. No,
nice.
I
Nice.
believe I remember specifically being in Scott Mosier's office while we were working on Post and Chasing Amy, and we had dial up, and somebody had said something. We didn't know that porn was out there, and I worked at convenience stores, so I'd always had access to magazines.
Sure.
And shit. But the last time I saw porn in a magazine was back when I was working there, so that was like '93, '94. And back in those days, it was still like you would have Hustler, and if this was a dick and this was a chick, it'd be like, it'd be so close, but they wouldn't touch. And sometimes they put a glowing star over it, so maybe you could pretend like they were. So I had been out of the porn mag biz for a while. I didn't, not having free access to I don't buy them or anything like that because fuck it. Because I used to get it free. That's why.
Sure.
Because I'd see it for in store. So somebody said, "Hey man, online you can see some fucking weird shit." And so me and Mosier one night went on his computer on the website dial up and looked at Shiza Essen pictures. We were like, let's pick something that we'll never see in real life.
Shiza who?
Shiza, the shit eaters, the people that are just like,
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry. It sounded like you said shit eaters.
It did, yeah. That was what I was.
There's
that's
a
what I
whole
wanted
site
to
devoted
see.
to the shit eating.
Come on.
7,500 sites devoted to shit eating.
Tons, dude.
Right.
Tons. People love to eat poop in
But
this
the
world.
Shizen sounds like it started maybe a little bit in Germany.
I think I don't know. I think most people think of Germans when it comes to bizarre porn. That's what I've heard.
I like that visual.
Yeah,
That works for me.
they're all about mass execution. And
So you heard there was
porn,
you heard there might be porn in them Nar Hills.
Yeah.
And you go and
I said, let's peep it out, man. And so we wanted to look for. It was like when I was a kid and we first got our video store membership. We had a Betamax machine. My mom took us up to this place, Video Movie House, and she signed us up. It was $19. You had to join, like pay to join.
Oh, the first.
Yeah. And we didn't have VHS, we had beta.
Right.
So they had a beta section and shit. And when I got the membership, they were like, wow, I was, 13 years old. Like, what do you want? I was like, give us the sickest horror movie you have, man, because we were all about horror movies. And she gave us a movie called Blood-Sucking Freaks, which was not really a sick horror movie as much as just demented exploitation.
Right.
And we were watching it in my living room. 13-year-olds. My mom's cooking dinner. My old man's sitting there reading the paper. And, it's one of these movies where a dude imprisons a bunch of women and drives them crazy and shit. And there's this one, like, he brings women in as slaves and shit, throwing dartboard painted on one woman's ass, this little midget throwing darts at it. And then the one guy is called Blood-Sucking Freaks. And then there's the one guy who's like the head bad guy. The new woman is brought before him. He's working her chin like this. And he's like, her mouth will make an interesting urinal. All of a sudden, my mother leans out of the kitchen, what are you watching? And I was like, I don't know. I didn't pick it. I just asked for the sickest horror movie. So it was like that moment where I was like, let's just go.
Right.
Don't bury the lead. If we're going to look at pictures online, let's look at shit we'll never see.
How bad can it get?
And it was shit eating, and I've always talked about it in concept and laughed about it.
In theory, it sounded fantastic.
Totally, man. I remember reading an article on Hustler once where I was like so fascinated by these shit eaters who it's not good for you to eat shit.
I'm guessing.
Bad. So what they have to do is
disease would come.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
They go to doctors though, and they get prescriptions for antibiotics. And the journalist was talking to the doctor, going, "Why do you give them the antibiotics? They're going to do it, so they might as well be safe and healthy." And they take the
That's
shit.
what shit eaters do.
They cook it into cake and brownies, and I was like, "This really captured my imagination." There's no pictures in the article, so I was like, "Wow, man!" So I had crazy shit eaters in my head, and I was like, "Let's look at that." And we looked at that, and it was one of you can't unsee it. You know what I'm saying? It's like.
Yeah.
Like Muse once watched an execution online, and he was just like, "Don't watch it, dude. I'm worse for watching it. I wish I hadn't watched it." Shit eating, same thing. Once you see someone like literally chewing into a turd, dude, doing something that's unnatural. You know what I'm saying? Like we poop and it goes away, and we look at it from a distance, and we're like, "Be gone," and that's it. But you never look at it and go, "I wonder what would happen."
Every now and then you'll take a picture of it, maybe.
And maybe, or bring a friend in, like, look at this shit. It kept going around, didn't break once, you know? But fucking those fuckers, man, they look in the toilet and they see like...
Yum!
Yeah, and not even like... Because they're not like, "Oh, I'm hungry for shit."
No.
It's a kink.
Right.
So while they're doing it, they're just like, "I hate myself so much, but I love it." And they're rubbing it in and shit.
Yeah.
So I wanted to look at pictures of that, and it was nothing like I'd hoped. I was looking for a lot of people having some good time rolling around in poop, but they all look sad.
Oh.
They all look kind of
like... It was the Fellini version.
It wasn't even that. It was it was the version that's just like, yeah, we all know that. It was always a bad idea, but once cameras got involved, it became a real bad idea kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because at some point it feels staged.
Well, it's just everyone's conscious of the fact that, like, this is being captured. Like, you're going to do something that fucking weird and out there. You don't want anything recording the moment except everyone's memory, which you can deny the next day.
Sure.
But if there's a fucking camera and they're like, "Hey, man, didn't you get some crazy shit eating last night?" And you're like, "No, I didn't." They're like, "Well, here's a picture. Look at that nut between your teeth."
I need some more visuals drawn for me.
Because some people eat peanut M&Ms, I mean.
I see what you're saying now, yes.
Yeah.
That is weird, wild stuff.
I like when you rock the impression.
Now, somebody told me. No, I'm not going to go there. I know that I wrote one thing down that actually, before we get off the Smodcast things, just to let people know. So it's a couple of years now, and once a week, you guys.
Me and Scott Mosier or someone.
Is it no matter what every week?
I mean, we'll skip. Like I skipped this week because I was like, I'm doing this the Kevin Pollak chat show, so watch that.
Is it normally Sunday that you do it?
Normally Sunday nights it goes up.
And you guys do it live?
No, we did it live. We've done it live once. We don't broadcast it live. We do it, and then Ken Plume, who's the guy that runs the site where it's housed, Quick Stop Entertainment, he does the undertracks. Right. So since we don't charge for it, I was like, fucking mix the shit out of that bad boy. So he goes in and creates this wonderful musical bed that like, if people had to pay for the show, we would have to pay for all those songs, and It would be like each episode would cost like $200,000 just based on the music.
Right.
But in the world of fair usage or whatever, we're not earning off of it. I guess they can't say anything or whatever. Which is nice because it's just nice having it underneath the music and whatnot. We just sit around bullshit. When Scott can't do it, I do it with like my friend Malcolm or Brian or Walter. My wife's done it. I did one or two with my kid. And we just sit around and talk bullshit, and take flights of fancy and whatnot. And it's cool. It's cool. We did it once live a couple weeks ago in Brantford, Ontario, to a sold-out theater. So we might do more of those. Like Carnegie, I just did that Carnegie Hall gig 2 weeks ago or last week or whatever.
Right.
And I think the next time I go back next year, we're going to do live Smodcast.
Well, that was the next thing I actually wanted to ask you about, is when you started to do these live, basically they're Q&As for them. I mean, you come out with...
I mean, basically it's stand-up, but I just don't call it that because...
Well, but that's what I wanted to ask.
With it a different
too much responsibility.
Yeah.
But that's what I want to ask you, because I know you come out with... I talked to a few people who saw you at Carnegie Hall, just in terms of that first part before you get to the questions and answers. And in many ways, of course, some of the questions, like some of my ridiculous ones today, only allow as a setup for stories that perhaps you've told before.
Right.
So in that case, in your mind, it might feel like stand-up because you're repeating some of the stories.
Yeah.
But I was told that you kind of went out and your opening was talking about shit that had just happened to you that day.
Yeah.
So that's very important to you as well.
Yeah.
And you go to your website and you see tour dates now. You've got all these shows lined up.
Yeah.
But
it's weird. I don't like to talk about it that much. I keep it kind of quiet because I'm so embarrassed by it.
But you went 3 hours.
I know. And that's
Carnegie.
short.
What's the longest?
8.
No.
8 hours.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
8 hours.
Yeah.
And how many people did you start with?
I started with a packed house at the Count Basie Theater in Red Bank, so whatever that holds, I think it's like 1,500 or something. But by the time I was done, there was
8 hours.
Maybe 600 people left.
You only lost 200.
No, I mean 15 to...
Oh, 1,500.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So that's a majority. You lose a bunch going 8 hours, but
yeah, I was
I'm
going to
there
say,
for the fuckers that are staying, man. I'm just like, wow.
600 people stayed for 8 hours.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. But, at the end, it's like...
It wasn't the
you're
plan.
onto shit like, Batman or Superman.
Yeah.
Boxers or briefs. Like, they're out of question.
Speaking of which, no. So when did that start on a whim? How did
it came from the movies. It came because
You'd go
with something like Clerks, you don't have anybody famous in it.
Right.
They send usually the filmmakers out to promote the movie and whatnot. So
Find
me
yourself.
and Scott Mosier would be up on stage all the time and just answering questions. And Scott's shtick, well, he's kind of shy, so his was a quiet shtick. His job was just to stand there, so I had somebody to stand next to.
Oh, nice.
And every once in a while, I'd go, "What was the budget?" And he'd be like, $27,575. That was his big moment and shit. So I just did it from all that Q&A, pre-movies and shit.
Right.
That's where you start honing it, and and it's like anything else. I mean, it's like you could be up there with a mic in your hand. You have the responsibility to fucking be entertaining.
Yeah, and at some point you start to tweak the stories a little bit with other memories that come in, and one thing leads to another.
Shade it and whatnot. Yeah, like I tell this fucking toilet breaking story, and I told it at Carnegie Hall, and it was like the best version of it I've told, and I've told it a zillion times. Did like a 4-minute version on the Tonight Show. Did fucking 1 hour and 20-minute version of the Bergen Pack Center like a couple months back, and then the one at Carnegie, I think I got down to like a streamlined 45, but it's like 45 and it kills. It's all good. Like I can go out and do one story and fucking leave, but I can't do it because I'm like, it's just I feel bad that people paid to come see me do something that I would literally do for nothing.
Yeah.
Like, so I tend to just try to overgive. Then at a certain point, when I started doing it, before movies and whatnot at film festivals, it kind of made sense. Then I started getting calls from schools going, "Hey, would you come show the film here and speak?" And I had done that during the promotion of the movie, so I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Right.
Like, you're just not there to promote the movie, you're just there to talk about the movie in retrospect or whatever. More an academic situation. But I don't have anything academic to say about film. I just kind of get up there and like to entertain.
Sure.
So I started doing that, and I more and more schools called up, and then it would be like, okay, we show the movie, and then I show up and do Q&A afterwards, and about an hour, and then it became 2 hours, and I was like, why do we need to show the movie anymore? They all seen it.
Yeah.
So there's no point. Let's just show up and fucking
Yeah.
go. And so then it just became that, and it just slowly, organically grew, and it was never an aim and never a dream or desire.
But that first time when you said, let's not bother showing the movie.
Yeah. That's when I was like, they're not even here for the movies anymore. They're here for me, and and so I'm like,
that was
I'm
a
gonna give them
revelation.
as much as me as possible. Yeah,
It
yeah.
had to have been.
Totally.
Because it was it was a huge experiment, actually. Let's not show the movie. Let's just have me go up and talk.
Yeah. But I mean,
You
that's
knew it.
what I got from doing it
Right.
time and time again, where you just had people going like,
And then you're hooked.
yeah, like, why, we've seen the movie. Like, we'd rather hear you talk longer.
But that's when you become hooked, though, when you don't have to show the movie anymore.
In which way?
I think in the performer, the natural storyteller
Right.
that you've always been, that you don't have to rely on showing the movie.
No.
You had this notion, I'm going to go ahead and take the questions and tell
Yeah.
these stories, and now you're hooked.
Yeah.
And clearly you can't stop.
No. And why
Good.
would you want to?
Good.
It's just one of those
Well, no, because
things.
people ask me why I started touring again. Like, I'll show up in some town in the middle of the country,
Right.
and literally they'll say, "What are you doing here?" And they just don't get it.
Yeah.
And it is that live conversation that you have with the audience that can go any which way you want it to.
And also, for me, it's a fucking gift, dude, because it's like,
It's borrowed time.
I mean, I grew up in a little town in New Jersey that very few people have ever heard of. You know, my father was a postman, and not even the one that brings the fucking mail to your house, the guy that literally cancels your stamp. He had a fucking soulless job that he hated to go to, and he just loved his fucking family, and that was it. There was no, like, one day, you know, anybody's going to care about what you have to say, let alone as many people that do. So you couldn't keep me off a fucking stage. As long as somebody has an interest, I'm fucking there. I mean, there's nothing easier rather than standing up there talking about yourself. Because they're curious. They're genuinely curious. It's not like I go into a room like I'm so Mr. Captain unassuming when I'm not on a stage. And even on a stage, I'm very unassuming too. But like, I would never go in a room and just start listing off my credits to you. I don't talk about me because I've got self-esteem issues and shit. But up on that stage, I know what my job is. My job is to get out there and give them everything.
Right.
Because that's what they've seen before. That's what they've heard. That's what they've watched on, you know, I got 3 DVDs, so they've seen me do it there or whatever. They listen to the podcast. For me, it's just my responsibility. I don't even know what my position is in this entertainment community anymore. Some days I think I'm a director, but other days I'm not. Some days I'm a writer, but some days I'm not. And then some days I feel like I'm fucking Rip Taylor, famous for nothing. Like just the dude who shows up at game shows and I'm like, what's he do again?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, once he did something, but now he's whipping confetti at us. You know, there are days where I feel like a lot of my peers, their work is judged on the work. Their work is judged on the talent.
Yeah.
And it's all about something else. It's not them. A lot of my stuff, I get graded on a curve because some people like me a lot. So, you know, even if the movie's not as strong as, say, the last one, they'll let it ride. I mean, the nice thing about the people that support my work are the people who've been around from fucking day one. They grow with you. They age with you. They tend to stick with you. But they're always willing to give you a chance. You know what I'm saying? And that's what the audience represents to me. That base that will always be there waiting to see. Like if I'm doing somebody sent me a tweet yesterday or this morning, so fucking awesome. It was just one of those, I really dig what you're doing right now. And I totally understood what that fucker meant.
Wow.
I was just like,
Yeah.
because I dig it too, man. Like I love my life and it's been real fun. I love making all the View movies and the Jay and Bob and stuff like that. But I don't know, man. Like this year, I just got real into like, I'm done with that. Like, and not like it's beyond it, I'm over it or I'm beyond it and it's fucking bullshit. I just can't do it anymore. I don't have it left. You know, it's like I can't write for fucking slackers who, you know, trying to put their lives. I put my life together 15 years ago and it hasn't broken since. So it's like, it's tough to put your mindset into characters you have to write for sometimes where it's just like, I don't know. I don't know how to write for people that aren't watching their dreams come true on a daily basis. You know, so it takes a stretch, and I don't think the movies necessarily suffered because of it, but like I look at those films and I can clearly tell This dude is fucking hungry and he knows what he's talking about. And this dude is trying to remember 15 years back to tell the same stories. And when I realized that was going on, I was just like, I can't do it anymore. I have to adapt or fucking die because I'm starting to not like me.
Right.
You know, it's just like, and I, you know, there's a part of me that would have just made Jay and Silent Bob movies until the day I died. And I never would have fucking been unhappy with it. I never would have been like, people, I said, do those Jay and Bob movies. I'd be like, yeah, I am that guy. And what a cool thing that would have been at the end of my career. Like, he made literally 48 of the same movie with himself in it. And he was never very cinematic looking and his dopey friend and shit like that. But I just got to a point where I'm like, it's not authentic anymore. You know, the tone, the attitude, the intent was authentic, but like, I don't know that world enough to write about it anymore. And I don't want to write about my world, my job, because my job is fucking, you know, it's showy and shit. You can't, it's different when you're writing about, you know,
and you're living your dream
shit.
and you're actually in the middle of it. That's a thing. Oh, it's a difficult thing to get a lot of people
It
to relate
is.
to.
It totally is. And you don't, and you hate putting it out there. It's like, and you know, don't get me wrong. Like I like my life a lot and shit, but there are pitfalls, and the pitfalls is you always have to seem like you enjoy it, but not too much. If you enjoy it too much, people start resenting you but you know, so you always got to fucking remind them that it's just like, hey man, it's not, you know, I fucking deal with shit and I got problems and then, you know, when they walk away, you're like, I really don't.
No, you do. You do, and I want to thank you for sharing most of them with us today.
Did I share all of them?
Your problem.
Yeah, I know. I got a bunch.
A lot of cock came up today.
Lots. That's all I do, Kev. That's all I got is a bag full of cock.
No.
I made a whole career off of one word, cock. That's it.
Really?
No.
Yeah, I was starting.
A few more words, but close.
Yeah. This has meant a great deal to me, by the way, seriously.
Why?
On a lot of levels. Well, I know you're half kidding, but as a fan first.
Yes.
And then eventually, thank goodness,
we got to work together.
Coworker.
Isn't that cool?
It's unbelievably
That's
cool.
another thing I like about this movie is it put me in the position to work with people that I probably couldn't have in my other job. Because it was, hey, Kevin Pollak's going to play Silent Bob's dad? No, you know. But it's like, but I found a project where I could work with people that I never would have had a chance to work with. So that, too, has been
you had a little stable going.
Yeah.
You know?
With my guys. Yeah, totally. Rep company and shit.
Yeah.
That was fun. It was so fun.
Jason Lee's
early
first
days.
film.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
You had very early Ben Affleck.
Very early Ben Affleck. Well, he had Voyage of the Mimi and Dazed and Confused prior to us.
Right.
Yeah. It was great, man. Those were heady fucking days. Like, it was, and, you know, and it wasn't even one of these things of like, oh, I wish I'd appreciate it. And I totally appreciated it in the moment. Every day was like, can't believe this is our job now. Yeah. Like one day it was like somebody came along with a magic wand and just said like, here's your dream job. And even given that, I still, and just to show you how fraught with fucking peril the job can be, or at least your emotional state or your psychological state in regards to the job, you would think that's it, end of story, and he lived happily ever after. But instead, I spent like the last 10 years sweating over what people wrote about me on the internet.
Right.
That is a true slap in the face to good fortune. Like if I'm God or whatever you call God or whatever, or just manifest destiny or some such shit like that, or the universe or karma, and I give someone like me a fucking huge break, and then that motherfucker complains that like Wampa One said he looked fat, you know, on IFC the other day. Like, come on, dude. And I spent 10 years fucking like not going after people that, you know, said, oh, his movies suck, because that's subjective, but people that would write stuff that I could correct.
Right.
That I was like, this is actually factually inaccurate. And then I felt like, all right, then I'll step out there and correct it and try to be entertaining while doing it at the same time. And it's, you know, and I used to take great pride in like, even so much I'd show my wife, like, look at how I cut this fucking stranger down. And she would just look at me like, I can't believe I let you put your dick in me.
Yeah.
And then I just got over it. That was one of those things that come with age. I love getting older. It was a real trial by fire. It was a real like growing pain moment, because it happened right as Zack and Miri was coming out as well. And I thought it was all Zack and Miri because I was so disappointed that the movie didn't do better. So I thought it was all about that. But really it was just this painful kind of growing process where I was realizing that everything that I defined myself as, I was now leaving behind. And I was going to step forward. Now, that's not to say like everything you knew about me is untrue and blah, blah, blah. But it's just like what I'm primarily known for were those movies. And one day I was just like, I can't make these movies anymore. So that's scary. That's scary. That's
Yeah.
like suddenly, what do I do? It's like, what does Carson do when he fucking quits the Tonight Show?
Lives on a ship.
Yeah. And I guarantee you, probably every day thought about like, at that time, gee, right about now, I'd be at a desk.
Absolutely, for
You know what
years
I'm
it would
saying?
take.
For
Yeah.
years.
And I ran into a guy that worked for him for many years, and he Carson was one of those rare talents that when they walked away, they literally never came back. And he was offered everything under the sun.
Right.
Specials, you can do the Bob Hope thing, you can do whatever you want. People wanted to be in movies, cameos, whatever. And first year or so, I think he appeared on Letterman just to kind of pass the torch a little bit and also make it clear that he wasn't a fan of Leno.
Is that true?
That he wasn't a fan of Leno?
Yeah.
Well,
Do you like Jay?
I love Jay, and I studied at his feet when he first started out. But when he took over the Tonight Show, I had a very difficult time, quite frankly, with
Getting on and
his
stuff?
version. No, his version.
Of the
I
show?
stopped doing it on my own volition, actually. I didn't. His
Is
version
that where
of
you're a purist, where you're like, well, that ain't the Tonight Show anymore?
Yeah, and also Letterman, I take you to the first broadcast that Letterman did after 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
He was, I think, the first guy late night to go back on the air.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't about being the first. It was about what he had to say
Right.
at the opening about how do we be funny now.
Right.
Because it was, I don't know how many days had passed, but there were a number of days because everyone took that.
Yeah.
But to give that first time back, anyways, that was legendary broadcasting to me. And as whatever moments that Leno may have had throughout his career, Letterman always seemed like the truest broadcaster in that regard.
See, now we sound like the fucking dudes that pick apart our careers online.
We
Like
do.
deciding who is the better broadcaster. It's like it's all arbitrary. Like Jay did what Jay did, and he did it well.
Yeah.
And Dave does what he does, and he does it well.
Oh no, of course. For this
But
point,
it's so weird, like
it's-
how we
it's-
sit here and like I've had these conversations where you're just like, well, which one is better at it? It's like, who gives a shit? They both serve their audiences.
yeah. Well, I give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah. It's very important to me.
Yeah.
That Leno.
I like that. I like that. I like that you're kind of like a Tonight Show snob or a purist.
Well, listen.
There's not many left, and I don't mean
Yeah.
this in a condescending way or any stretch of the imagination. The older one gets, the more one appreciates shit that used to be around in full.
Yeah.
You could talk to a zillion people about Johnny Carson back in the day.
Yeah.
Not anymore, man.
No.
Not anymore. And it's not like I need to talk about Johnny Carson on a
Right.
regular basis, but it's nice to know there's somebody who remembers it all, remembers it fondly, was there,
Right.
and can talk about it.
Right.
Because it's like Farrah Fawcett died, the other day, and I was just like, wow, man, like she had 10 minutes before Michael Jackson fucking blew
Yeah.
her off the map and
Right.
shit. But meanwhile, it wasn't bigger than Farrah Fawcett
No.
when I was a kid.
Number
It was
one
that
selling
fucking
poster in history, yeah.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I mean,
Also, the work
Charlie's
she did in the Burning
Angels.
Bed.
yes,
I mean,
yeah.
she-
Later on, she legitimized herself as an actress. too.
Exactly. Shocked everyone.
And then she's gone, and
Right.
that's it. And about they give you a week. In a week,
But even
everyone
with
talks
Michael,
nice about you. But boom, boom.
Jamie pointed this out. I give all her the credit. You'd watch so-called legitimate news,
Mhm.
and they were all obsessed in their coverage about the disgrace of Michael Jackson.
Mhm.
And then all the VH1 and MTV and what have you, they were actually paying tribute to an extraordinary career.
Yeah, but
Truly extraordinary.
And look, I love Michael Jackson's music, but that's like you can't tell the story of Titanic without the boat going down at the end. You know what I'm saying?
In this
You
case, you're
can't tell
saying
the story
the
of
little kid,
Michael Jackson is the boat, or is the kid the boat?
the little kids.
Somebody going down. I don't know. It's just a part of the story now. Like to me, I'm not
Yes,
like.
of course it's a part of the story.
I don't want to whitewash it. He died. I mean, when I heard that news, I was like, "Fuck, that's weird, man." We now live in a world where Michael Jackson doesn't anymore, and I've only ever lived in Michael Jackson's world.
Right.
And now that he's not here, whose world is it?
Yeah.
Bruce Willis's.
Yeah.
We live in Bruce Willis's world.
Yeah.
I just figured that out. So it was a weird notion. But at the same time, I was just like, look, I love Off the Wall. I love all that music. I can fucking sing along with the best of them. But, like, sorry, man. Wasn't there some allegations that seemed pretty fucking accurate and maybe, like, legitimately in the eyes of the law? He didn't get in trouble, if I'm correct. But where there's smoke, there's fire. And, let's not forget that.
The interviews that he gave to the British journalists made it all pretty crystal clear beyond the allegations.
What did he say?
Well, no, he obviously didn't cop to anything, but the answers that he gave made things more and more clear. But what I'm speaking to also is We know that part of the story.
Yeah.
We know that. That's pretty much all we've been talking about for the last many years.
Right.
Oh my God, what's happened to this freak? What did he do to his nose? What the fuck did he do to his face?
The only way to get him to stop talking about it was for poor Michael Jackson to literally die. And that's when people started being like, "Wow, he used to make great music."
No, but that allowed even me, one of the more cynical people in my circle, to step back and stop talking and obsessing about all those unbelievably horrific things. And actually remember with these visuals, Jesus, he reinvented the wheel in a way that maybe 5 people have in the history of music. Mm-hmm. That can't be taken away.
No.
That can't be forgotten.
No.
It doesn't need to be celebrated.
It can be celebrated, but you can never forget the fact that if those allegations are true, he broke generations of human beings.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no greater crime than fucking doing something to a kid that's going to affect that child for a lifetime. And every generation that follows that kid. So I don't give a shit how good Billie Jean is. If he touched a kid's dick, he's going straight to hell. And I don't mean that in the Catholic way. I just mean in the kind of like, fuck him. Right. And if that's true, I don't know if it's true and I wasn't there, but if that's the case, there ain't a song. All right, maybe Off the Wall is a pretty good song. Maybe Off the Wall lets you touch one kid. But no. They don't get to come, and neither do you.
Well,
you touch them on the neck, like Jamie style. Rub their neck.
Now it's known as Jamie style. No, the thing is, what you say is obviously true, and I think that I'm agreeing with you. Please.
Yeah, no, I'm not fighting with it. I'm just standing on a soapbox.
No, but I mean that's the part that
I should stop.
That we were all kind of aware of, which is not only had he destroyed himself by destroying his face and his career and all those other things, but here he is destroying these children too. That's the horrific part that I was referring to. It's just so weird
because the guy had it all. Like, what happens to these people? They get it all and they just fucking go crazy. Like,
well, they don't go crazy, is my opinion.
What do you think it is? They were always crazy? Yeah,
when you're allowed,
is it ascribe or subscribe to the theory?
Subscribe. When you're allowed all freedoms,
yes,
and there's and you get to create your own chaos at your own whim and will, without any sort of editing guidelines or boundaries.
Yeah.
Then
you're
eating shit online.
My friend Malcolm, yeah, no doubt. My friend Malcolm Ingram, great guy. He's a bear, and he's my gay proxy. He's the one that feeds me all the information about the gay community. He's my gay spy, if you will.
All right.
Boy, I forget why I brought him up.
I'm dying to know, but we were talking about Michael Jackson, no boundaries and freedom.
Oh, he told me, he made this great observation about the fact that he, at a certain point, he was all closet and whatnot, and he pretended to like girls, and then one day he called me up, and he was just like, "Hey, man, I went on a date with a guy." And I was like, "So you're gay?" He goes, "No, I didn't even know it was a date. I thought we were just going out to eat, and it turned out to be a date, and we were on a date." And I was like, "Well, Malcolm, if you didn't know it was a date going into it, even if you find out it's a date later, it's still technically not a date." But that was Malcolm's way of seeing like how I'd react and whatnot. Which my brother's gay. He's been married to the same dude for 15 years. So like, what else was I gonna be like? "Oh, Malcolm, how dare you put dick in your mouth?"
Right.
I know how good a blowjob could be. I don't hold it against him for wanting to get one or give one.
Either way.
Good guy. Sure. But he said, he was talking about his view of the gay community was this. He's like, you think about all the shit that you would do with a woman if she wasn't level-headed. And that's what being gay is like. Wow. He's going, it's just unchecked sexuality. It's just crazy. He's going, all the things you've ever dreamed about doing with a woman you can do. It's just got to be a guy. And I was just like, all right.
For a moment there, they had you.
He did. I was just like, this sounds good. Wait, oh, dick? All right, well, we'll see. See how things get.
Yeah.
Well, I'm holding on. I'm not saying never in a million years.
No, you can never say never.
No, I never say never.
Cock may, in fact, be a big
cock may be a factor, dude. I may take to cock like I took to weed. You know what I'm saying? I never in a million years thought I'd take to weed. So like, you
heard it all here first.
Totally. I'm like, I'm smoking 4 cocks a day. Takes me an hour each time, but boy, I feel good about life.
And I understand there's less munchies involved. I do want to thank you. I want to thank you.
A lot of protein, though. A lot of protein.
So it's all protein. So very, very much for sharing. Some might think too much. I say no.
Yeah, no, probably too much.
No.
I heard some groans.
For sharing all of it, and also, but more importantly, your time. It means a great deal to me.
Not at all, man. I'm happy to be here. I'm so glad we do. I was very, very flattered that you asked me. I wasn't fishing for an invite. But I was delighted when you mentioned it.
Oh, please.
And I was like, I would like to watch that Dana Carvey interview. And I was so delighted that it was like, because you know how it could have been like where I watched it and I was like, I got to deal with this motherfucker for the next 2
right,
months.
right.
Like, yeah, Kev, that talk feels good. But I was really way into it and whatnot. I was like, he's on to something. It's a good idea.
Well, and thanks for also having me in your film. I'm having an amazingly great time. You know, when
You're doing great work. Seriously, you're doing great work.
That's a given. But no, thank you. And you can't, of course.
And the kid is amazing.
Adam Brody?
Yeah, your boyfriend in the movie.
Adam Brody is a
Brody
revelation. I
yeah,
had no idea.
Yeah,
No
I
idea.
worked with him once on a political spot a couple years back for Norman Lear has this Get Out the Vote organization. And so we made, non-partisan, hey, get your ass out there and vote spots. And he came in, and I worked with him for like, 40 minutes that day. I was like, this dude's so fucking sick, talented, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I've never had anything for him, so it was nice that we were able to get him into this.
Well, you're letting him shine in a way I don't think anybody's aware of.
But you guys, it's so easy because you do so well together. It's almost like I'm gonna knock this bottle over so many times. It's like you guys go somewhere, come up with your scene and lines, and then fucking come, but it's all there on the page. And you just kind of, that's the difference. Like, that's why you guys are truly actors. Like, because some people say, hey, you're an actor, but no, I just put on a fucking coat and go in movies. And the ones that I've spoken in, I'm not really an actor because I can't take the words on a page and just make it. I have to colloquialize it, put it into my words in order for it to sound real. A real actor can take words, even god-awful words on a page, and make it sound natural. And that's what you guys do. Like, when you guys start talking, I'm like, no way they're just making this shit up because there's no way that people can deliver this dialogue this effortlessly to make it sound like they're literally having a conversation.
Yeah, that's the key.
It's fun to watch. I mean, again, it's just fun to watch. And the older you get, the more you appreciate little shit about everything in life, particularly this job. And what I have loved on this job is just literally, it's almost like watching command performances.
Right.
Like, it's so flattering because they always do. And actors do this wonderful thing where they come up to you to approve shit all the time. So they're like, I was thinking about doing this. And it's always, I was thinking about. It's always, they're looking at, I was thinking about. Almost like they're trying to suck your dick. I was thinking about sucking your dick. But it goes right there. That's my go-to. That's why I never would have been on the Carson couch and shit.
That is your default.
It is my default. My go-to. My reset. But anyway, they come over and then, can I try this? And then they do the performance for you.
Right.
And then you're like, great, yeah, go do it. And then they do it for everybody else, and everybody's, that's great. And then you're like, I saw it first.
Yeah.
Because there's still that currency, and information is power. It's great. The command performance aspect of filmmaking is something that I've really enjoyed on this movie, where it's just like, wow, they're just doing this for me, and it's so fun.
Well, it's nice to see someone enjoy their job as much as you do, aside from being as talented as you are at it. But actually, in the groove of making it, to be able to enjoy it, because I started doing this because I thought it might be fun, and while I'm doing it, it's unbelievably fun. The franticness happens before the show or during when the Wi-Fi goes out. But other than that, it is about actually being in it and just having the actual conversation. So I thank you for this one. You're not going to get off the hook without a little Larry King game, even though you teased it earlier. I'm still going to need it. So it's a bad Larry King game. Reveal something.
Everyone knows my move.
No, you can do it. It's bottles right there.
That's
Reveal
true.
something about yourself as Larry,
right?
And then go to the phone. And it helps if the name of the city is funny sounding. You've been to enough of them. You know the funny sounding city name.
I have.
Right into your camera when you're ready.
Although that's
Poughkeepsie's been done.
All right, bad Larry King.
Bad Larry King, very important.
Bad Larry King. I can't go with my fucking, I'm Larry King and I'm sucking a dick.
Sure you can.
Well, I did it already.
You just have to finish it.
I know I can. I already kind of tipped my hand a little bit. And am I doing it into camera?
Yeah.
Larry King. And it's revealing. And is it him or is it my revelation through Larry?
You are Larry.
So am I imagining something Larry did, or is it something Kevin did as Larry?
No. As Larry, you reveal something that
I did?
Larry did.
Man, I don't know.
Anything.
It's just so challenging because I've revealed everything.
I know.
To date, I got nothing left.
But not about you. About you're Larry. Larry's doing this.
All right,
is what
Larry's
I'm saying.
doing it.
Yeah. There's something Larry would reveal about himself.
All right. One time I let a chick shove a brush up my ass. Beaver, Pennsylvania, you're on the air.
That's all I was looking for. To be honest with you, that was really it. Yeah. Yeah, and
I feel.
It doesn't
used.
matter that it came from your.
I feel dirty that people know that.
It doesn't matter.
But it was Larry King.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't me. Did you ever see that episode? Did you ever watch Davy and Goliath when you were a kid?
Oh, please.
There was an excellent episode of Davy and Goliath, and it was a Halloween-themed episode where since all of them were in costume, they kept doing cruel things and being like,
oh, wow.
Sally didn't do that. Witch did it.
Oh, wow.
It is the creepiest episode of Davy and Goliath because little claymation puppets walking around breaking church windows and being cruel to animals. One dude, he sticks his finger up a dog's ass.
No, he didn't
do that. But everything they do, they go, it wasn't me, that was witch. Like she was being a witch and David was being a ghost. That wasn't me, that was ghost. So I'm just going to use Larry King.
I love it. It's yours.
That wasn't me, that was Larry King.
That was Larry King that stuck a broom up his ass.
Not a broom, a brush.
I'm sorry, my bad.
And Larry King would have... Yeah,
I take it to my own place. All right, you sit there and don't move while I sign off. And I have a few people to thank. I don't want to forget. First of all, Andrew Lipson, and then Jesse Baracus, and Gerard Mackey. These guys are the ones behind the scenes here in New York who made all this possible. And we'll certainly work on a few kinks between now and the next time I'm fortunate enough, if I am, to return to this particular studio, because I sure would love to. Thank you all very much for hanging with us. And I look forward to coming back to you next week. I do know who my guest. I think Danny Strong is going to be my guest. The recount of the HBO movie that he wrote. We'll talk about that as well. Movie. Yeah, brilliant writer.
I saw that dude interviewed somewhere.
Yeah,
and he was just at first I was like, what the fuck? What kind of writer? He just wrote about something that happened. Right. Then I watched it and I was like, that's good. It was well done. I mean, what's weird is that we all knew the ending and I was sitting there going, God, I hope they don't win.
Right.
You know, right. It was well made.
Wow.
I like that. And he came off well in the interview. That's another thing. You ever notice, like, you watch people come off interviews and be like, I like that person.
Yes. Well, that was the other reason why I wanted to do this, is to let their fans or audience know what they're actually like.
Right.
Because in this situation, you actually get to a place of comfort and accidentally or not share things.
Yeah. Some of us have been doing that for years. Some of us
so you were easy.
Sharing.
Yeah, you were easy.
Truly.
But thank you to Andrew, Jesse, and Gerard for making this possible. We'll see you next week, and then back here in New York in a couple of weeks after that. I'm going to go back to work at 6 a.m. tomorrow on a couple of dicks with my new best friend, Kevin Smith, and I thank him and all of you. And everyone that came here, Jamie also busting ass and trying to fix things.
Busting ass and rubbing shoulders.
And squeezing necks. And Juan
liking
hockey. Out, of course. And loving hockey.
Loving hockey or liking hockey?
Love it. Love it.
Really? You go for love?
Oh, yeah.
You won't speak. Why now? Why won't you? Because you're not on camera or something like that? You're like, I only live in front of the camera, bitch.
They can hear me anyway.
That's true.
They can't hear, yeah. Yeah,
I'll relay the information. What? Dick's small and he can't fuck long? Well, you know.
I would have told you that. Yeah, I have huge balls.
You did with your eyes.
I have huge balls.
Me too, man. I got
very
no
tiny.
cock.
Yeah,
all
right.
nuts.
All nuts.
It's crazy, man. My wife just looks at me and just like, man, why couldn't it have been reversed? All potato, no meat. But I got balls. Christ, do I have balls?
Yeah, I actually fool her. Well, it's not important.
If one could fuck with balls, I would be stud.
We'll talk. Let me sign off and then I'll explain. Thank you all very much. We'll see you next week. Until then, get out of my face.
He's all of the rainbows, but none of the rain. He's dry, but he's an alcoholic. He's hosting this train wreck again and again, and he wears a hat. He's